Please rise for the invocation to be led by Ms. Eliana Roblesa, Branding Manager, PH1 World Developers.
Let us be aware of God's holy presence today. Lord, may your goodness and love be present among us today. Come, bless our gathering with unity, hope, and vision. Lord, we pray for unity. Build in us all a deep respect for one another so that your family be one. Lord, we pray for hope. Come stir your hope within our hearts and renew our faith. Lord, we pray for vision to make the Philippines a first world country. We ask all this in the glorious name of Jesus. Amen.
Please remain standing for the Philippine National Anthem.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang magiliw, ewas ang silanganan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, buyan ka ng magiting, sa manluluping, di ka pasisingil, sa nagagang tutok sa simoy at sa langit raw-raw, ay hinagang tula, kawin sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawag mo'y tagumpay na naghihingi, ang bituin at araw niya kailan ang may magdidinig. Lumanang araw ng warhabit pagsingka, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang hinigaya na pagkay mga akin, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Good morning, everyone. Can we continue standing? We've been doing the HSCO Forum for the last 15 years. And the reason is to make Philippines as a business hub in Asia and to make Philippines a first world country. With that, can we please shake hands at sabihin natin, kaya natin to. Come on, shake your hands. Exchange business cards. All right, thank you everyone. Now we can sit down.
Meet the leaders who are showing the way. Only here, the Asia Real Estate Forum with title sponsor RLC Residences, Robinson's Land Corporation, with major sponsors Figure, Megawide, SB Finance. Please watch this.
The greatest investment opportunity has entered our lives with real estate. As in the past with Singapore, Korea, Japan, and China, an enormous demographic wave will drive real estate demand as millions of Filipinos enter the global middle class and desire space to live, work, and play. The current government is providing all the right support for the economy to grow at rates higher than in virtually all countries of the world. Hear what the industry's most innovative leaders say about the opportunities ahead at Asia Real Estate Forum 2023. Join Asia Real Estate Forum 2023 to build the knowledge and relationships you need to grow your wealth in the Philippine real estate market. Asia Real Estate Forum 2023, presented by Robinson's Land. Major sponsors are Figure, Megawide, and SB Finance. Welcome to the Asia Real Estate Forum 2023.
And now, let's welcome your host, Mr. Richard Mills.
Thanks, everyone. Really nice to have everyone. I know there was some rain. There's still a lot of people on their way coming here, but we're going to get going. So, yeah, we're really nice to have everyone here. We have some, I know our guests from Subic, SBMA, where are they? I know they started their trip today at 3 a.m. to be here. So pleased to have them. Also BCDA, Arlene and our friends also came down early. And a company called Scrubbed. Where were they? Oh, right here. So they're in Clark with 1,000 people doing accounting and other services, mainly for real estate companies in Philippines, well, no, internationally, US, but some also in Philippines. So a good showing for them. So a lot of diverse people here. Certainly our friend Rosemary Raphael of Airspeed is here. Many others will hear. Mike Chile in the rail industry is here, also big in the German community, of course. We'll do some more introductions later on as we go, but real estate is the subject here. Real estate is an interesting thing, especially in Asia, but all over. I'm a little bit older than some of you guys and gals, but when I went to school in the 1980s, Japan had their big real estate, became a massive bubble. But in Asia, all countries go through a 35-year development cycle, and it's in that last phase where real estate really becomes a booming, even a bit crazy of an industry. We see China today nearing the end of their development cycle, and they have to unwind their real estate industry. But the opportunities are lots. Much of it depends on the great work of the Department of Transportation. So we're really pleased to have Secretary Jaime Bautista here, and his friend Johnny, if I can say to Secretary, he was the first guy here to make sure everything was done here properly. But it's nice how, I know we were big fans of Art Tugade, the previous Secretary of Department of Transportation, and all the great work that he did. And we worried, oh my God. And then when we heard it was Secretary Jaime Bautista, said, oh, great. So the country, as all of you can see driving around, has become kind of like a big construction site because they're doing so much construction throughout the nation. So it's really exciting. So Philippines, this will be the time. Philippines has had a good run for the past 20 years, but the next 10, 15 is where it's really all going to happen. So if you talk to economists, they track these things. And as China has done such great work over the past, they've moved hundreds of millions of people out of poverty, all that, but their time is it's going to be really hard for them going forward. And all eyes are now looking elsewhere. And elsewhere is right here in Philippines. Now, Vietnam and Indonesia, they're also being looked at, so we're going to make sure that they do well, just that we want Philippines to do a bit better, right? So we're really excited. So we want to talk about the real estate industry, such a valuable and interesting field, and one that we're all going to see tremendous opportunities over the next few years. And so maybe to get us going, let's get going with Chad Sotelo. He is from the consumer products industry, L'Oreal, Samsung, Procter & Gamble, and so forth, and has moved over because of the opportunities in real estate. So he runs the residential division of Robinson's Land, RLC Residences. So please welcome Chad Sotelo to the stage. Seems like an outgoing and exciting fellow. So he'll get us going with some welcome remarks.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Asia Real Estate Forum 2023. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Secretary Jaime Bautista of the Department of Transportation. I'd also like to acknowledge the different presenters we have today from Palafox Associates, Figure Group, Lichu Property Consultants, Pag-ibig, SBMA, BCDA, PwC Singapore, PH1 World Developers, and Hotel 101. I am honored and humbled to be with you today in the Asia Real Estate Forum for 2023. When I saw today's list of speakers, I felt daunted, daunted because amongst all the speakers and probably 95% of the audience, I probably have the least number of years of experience in the real estate industry. It's only been about 25 months since I joined Robinsons Land Corporation with RLC Residences. And as mentioned by Richard, my background is a mixture of marketing, sales, and country management experience in fast-moving consumer goods, beauty, consumer electronics, and consumer appliances. I have had the privilege of being taught how to make and use makeup in my L'Oreal experience, which was a very odd experience, but it really helped me understand how things go. And then from there, it was electronics, appliances, and now in real estate. Yet here I am, delivering the opening remarks in a real estate forum. So it's a little bit scary. So when I joined the industry, I was an outsider. I still consider myself to be an outsider. I had long viewed the real estate industry with a lot of wonder and a little bit of annoyance. Annoyance when a particularly makulit real estate agent pesters you to no end. But wonder also because almost everyone I know who gets involved in the industry becomes financially successful. It felt from the outside almost magical. So since I knew nothing about the industry, save for the fact that I lived in a condo for about 6 years and I flipped a condo in my early 20s, mostly at the behest of my dad, I immersed myself in this wonderful world with a massive onboarding schedule about 2 years ago. I met up with our partners, suppliers, I visited project sites, met the sales force, and met with my counterparts in the other divisions: offices, malls, homes, hotels and resorts, integrated division, and our industrial division. It was a lot of information, but I enjoyed it. But the real fun started when I started to meet our buyers and homeowners, both from Robinsons Land and from competition, and asked them about the real estate experience. In the past 2 years or so, I've met close to about 300 customers, and I also hang out where they hang out. Facebook comments, Reddit, Twitter, or X as it's called nowadays, Instagram posts, and the like. And with these experiences come two big realizations. One, I realized that in RLC, our institutional knowledge on what our customers, our buyers, and homeowners wanted was at best outdated and at worst incomplete. We had made a lot of assumptions over the years on, well, almost everything, from payment schemes to the buying process, from condominium designs to amenity preferences. Through no fault of anyone, we as a team had just assumed, based on our years of experience, that we knew what our customers wanted. We realized that our knowledge was incomplete when we started asking a simple question: why? Why is the booking process to buy a condo so complicated? Why does it take 7 departments and 2 to 3 weeks just to schedule a ready for occupancy unit viewing? Why do we still install RJ45 sockets in our walls when the world has moved on to fiber? Learning that we didn't know as much as we thought we did was a humbling experience, but it was the wake-up call that we needed. The second realization is that the market, well, in the residential condo market anyway, is nowadays scared, slightly distrustful, yet still very optimistic about the residential real estate. Scared because of all the negative news coming out of the US on commercial real estate, and China and Evergrande's bankruptcy, and Country Garden's deteriorating financial condition. Slightly distrustful because of, well, all of the bad experiences of some noisy people with some scrupulous sellers, some developers with unmet promises, high interest rates on bank loans that double or even triple the monthly amortization of the down payment, and exacerbated by turnover delays due to the pandemic. Yet they also see that everyone's revenue and profit has more than doubled since 2022. Optimistic because most people still believe that real estate continues to be one of the most dependable investments one can make, and also because everyone wants to have a home. It continues to be one of the biggest dreams of every Filipino. So this is where we find ourselves at. And while I'm sure the challenges and opportunities in the other areas of real estate beyond residential are quite diverse, I'm sure there are commonalities as well. So I am here to listen and learn. I'm very excited to get insights and hear opinions and learn new, well, new to me, techniques from the depth of experience in this room and our speakers. So I thank once again each and every presenter today, and to all of you for taking the time to join us here in the Real Estate Asia 2023. Thank you very much and good morning to you all.
Bravo. Thank you very much, Chad. A pleasure. Okay, kind of a highlight. We had originally scheduled Secretary Bautista to do the finale, you know, the keynote at the end and be the highlight. But he was so eager he had to go first, or something, and other reasons. But we're really pleased to have him. I know many in the highly regarded, if you know people in the aviation business, they always talk about Secretary Jimmy Bautista as the guy who made, you know, Philippine Airlines. Years ago, it wasn't as there was difficulties, and it took a lot of work, much of it done by this fella here, pulling it up initially to save it even, and then now it's become, you know, you compare it to other airlines like we have, and it's clearly, you know, among a top tier in my view. Certainly, and improvements keep getting made, so it's exciting what's going on there. And yeah, so in the aviation business, certainly Jaime Bautista is like the guy kind of thing, you know. So anyway, with an interesting story, and we've got a 30-minute full presentation for us. So we're going to learn a lot of material and get a lot of updates of what's going on. So please welcome Secretary Jaime Bautista of Department of Transportation to the stage.
Career picked when he took on the role of President and Chief Operating Officer of the Philippine Airlines for 2 terms. He successfully steered PAL through its most turbulent times. After he instituted wide-ranging service innovations, PAL was rated 4-star by Skytrax. He left PAL in 2019, capping 3 decades of stints in different companies under the Luciatan Group of companies. He succeeded turning them profitable, pushing him to take on bigger roles and more responsibilities in the conglomerate. Even during the pandemic, he was busy as board member of a dozen companies and foundations. Through these board memberships, he learned banking, shipping, leisure property development, land development, and more. All this he gave up when he accepted his first government post. Tagging him a technocrat may not be suitable. Rather, he prefers to be called a professional manager. He dislikes praise and flattery. He is known for his humility and a winning smile even in unpleasant situations. His character and integrity are his most precious wealth, remaining untarnished to this day, and he works tirelessly. His first job, even before passing the CPA board exam, was at SGV, where he met his wife Joji, who is also a CPA. They have a daughter who gave them 2 reasons to be doting grandparents. A round of golf with friends is now a rare luxury, although he struggles to improve his handicap. But he prides at already achieving every golfer's dream, his first hole in one. Ladies and gentlemen, the Secretary of Transportation, Mr. Jaime Jimenez Bautista.
Mr. Richard Mills, Chairman, Asia CEO Events, Ms. Rosemary Rafael, Chairperson and President of Airspeed Group of Companies, Ms. Rebecca Bustamante, CEO of Asia CEO Events, Mr. Chad Sotelo, and the other speakers in this forum, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am pleased to join you at this Asia Real Estate Forum, what you consider as the largest non-aligned industry event of the year. This forum, I believe, serves as a perfect occasion to update you on various transport infrastructure projects after 1 year of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s administration. I hope this topic, projects of the Department of Transportation, would interest you in the real estate industry because we believe your industry's growth hinges on an improved transport system, not just in the country but in the region as well. Our premise is that growth prospects of the real estate industry ultimately depends on efficient, accessible, safe, and sustainable transport systems in land, air, water, and rails. My task at this gathering is to highlight transport infrastructure developments and the transformative impact of these projects to the Philippine economic and social transformation while using as guidepost this administration's 8-point socio-economic agenda. Parts of that agenda pertinent to transportation are: 1, reduce transport and logistic cost; 2, improve infrastructure; and 3, establish livable and sustainable communities. To achieve this, we will transform the 4 transport sectors by elevating them to global standards. We are addressing the multiple challenges hounding the transport sector, including direct economic congestion cost, high logistic cost, and issues in tourism and road safety, just to name a few. Recently, the National Economic Development Authority, or NEDA, approved a total of 194 infrastructure flagship projects, or IFPs, which have a cumulative cost of more than 8 trillion pesos. Yesterday, we had a NEDA board meeting, and there were 3 more additional infrastructure flagship projects. So now we have 197 instead of 194. And of that 197 infrastructure flagship projects, 72 are being undertaken by DOTR. Originally, it was 71, but yesterday, there was 1 added. No? I think it's in the newspaper today. No? So 72 are being undertaken by DOTR. In terms of project cost, these DOTR projects are valued at 4.7 trillion pesos. Today, we handle more than 160, inclusive of the 72 IFPs across the project development cycle. There are around 28 projects under the aviation sector, 26 under maritime, 59 under railways, and 47 under the road sector. We are also pushing for non-specific thematic initiatives that are all encompassing across the different sectors. Included in this existing 20 thematic initiatives are reducing logistic cost, create transport jobs, transport safety and security, carbon neutrality, disaster resilience, gender equality, disability, and social inclusion, among others. Other critical initiatives that we now regard as advocacies are digitalization, electric vehicles, institutional strengthening and right-sizing, and more. For your information, the Department of Budget and Management identified 6 priority expenditures under the 2024 national budget. These are: 1, shovel-ready infrastructure projects; 2, investments in human capital development; 3, sustainable agriculture and food security; 4, climate change adaptation and mitigation; 5th, digital transformation; and 6th, regional development. Our transport projects are bound to steer the status quo once completed. At the outset, we said the status quo in the country's transport sector is unacceptable. We are rushing projects to reduce traffic, waiting lines, smoke-belching jeepneys, flight cancellations, and many other passenger inconveniences. Speaking of traffic, a 2019 study by the Japan International Cooperation Agency, or JICA, showed that in 2017, the economic impact of road traffic was pegged at 3.5 billion pesos a day for Metro Manila and 2 billion pesos for surrounding provinces such as Bulacan, Rizal, Laguna, and Cavite. According to the study, the total annual direct economic cost of traffic congestion stands at more than 1.277 trillion pesos. This staggering amount of lost economic opportunities is pushing us to accelerate the completion of our projects, not just those that address road traffic. Our transport infra projects are primarily designed to improve mobility and connectivity of people and goods. Allow me to update you on these game-changing projects. Let me start with a familiar sector, aviation. First off, the privatization of the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, or NAIA, has been approved by the National Economic Development Authority. The Department of Transportation and the Manila International Airport Authority are working closely with the Asian Development Bank to ensure that the solicited NAIA PPP project is awarded to the winning bidder for the operations and maintenance of NAIA by early 2024. Yesterday, we opened the invitation for prospective private operators of the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. Meanwhile, we are constructing the Bukidnon Airport. The locally funded project is expected to be operational by the second quarter of 2026. The airport will cater to turboprop aircraft operations serving Bukidnon and nearby provinces, boosting the economic and trade growth of north-central Mindanao. Also, the development of Catbalogan Airport in Samar will allow it to handle turboprop operations covering eastern Visayas. Catbalogan Airport should be operational by 2025. Likewise, Dumaguete Airport will be transferred to the town of Bacong, which is 8.5 kilometers south of Dumaguete City. The new airport will be 3 times bigger than the existing one. We are now in the process of procuring the land, and transferring the airport will cost 17 billion pesos. We are also expanding the passenger terminal building of Tacloban Airport, while Calibo Airport's expansion involves both the terminal and runway. Last August 4, I was in Calibo where we broke ground for a housing resettlement project for local residents to be affected by the airport expansion project. The project should be completed within 18 months. I also visited Caticlan Airport where the terminal building will be expanded and airside facilities upgraded. We plan to increase capacity of the Laguindingan Airport in Cagayan de Oro from 1.6 million passengers a year to almost 6 million annually. The unsolicited proposal for Laguindingan Airport was recently approved by NEDA. We should be able to implement this 12 billion project starting 2024. Another 3 regional airports will be improved and transferred to new locations. These are in Siargao, Zamboanga, and Masbate. The repair of the Cotabato Airport, which was closed a few weeks back, is finished. Cotabato Airport was reopened last week. We also have the new Manila International Airport being built in Bulacan. Land development is more than 3/4 complete, and we expect structures to rise starting second quarter of 2024. This airport is costing San Miguel Corporation 735 billion pesos to build. It will decongest NAIA and complement operations of Clark International Airport. Speaking of Clark, together with Mactan Cebu International Airport, These two international gateways are successful models of turning over the airport's operations and maintenance to the private sector. Clark is currently operated by a private consortium, the Luzon International Premier Airport Development Corporation, while Mactan Cebu is managed by GMR Megawide Consortium. Today, the Philippines has a total of 90 airports. Only half or 45 have commercial operations. 9 are international gateways, while 25 are not night rated. Let me now shift to the road sector. Our land transport initiatives are shifting focus on public transport in order to maximize use of limited highways. We want private vehicle owners to leave their cars in their garage and instead use trains, buses, taxis, bicycles, motorcycle taxis, or any other modes of public transport. Some of you are probably familiar with the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange, or PITX, which has been operational since 2018. We are replicating PITX in Taguig, the Taguig City Integrated Terminal Exchange, or TCITX. The TCITX, spanning an area of 34,500 square meters, is estimated to cater to an average foot traffic of 160,000 passengers daily. It can also accommodate 5,400 buses in total. Our road sector continues to promote active transport or the use of bikes by expanding or creating new bike lanes and pedestrian walkways to further increase mobility and accessibility. This year, 400 kilometers of active transport infrastructure in 9 regions shall be completed, along with the maintenance and upgrading of its existing infrastructure. Last August 4, we broke ground for establishing bike lane infrastructure in Calibo, and last week at Lawag City. Let me update you on the Public Utility Vehicle Modernization Program, or PUVMP. So far, more than 1,700 transport cooperatives have been accredited, comprising more than 262,000 members and more than 100,000 jeepneys and 14,000 UB Express units. These accredited cooperatives operate a total of 7,313 modern jeeps nationwide, of which 381 are electric jeeps. Cooperatives can choose from more than 100 different models of modern jeepneys offered by 49 manufacturers. 8 models are electric. Latest figure also show that 66% of these transport cooperatives have submitted their transport route plans to their local government units, with 148 route plans already approved. The social component of the PUVMP, the Chuper Scholar and Entrepreneur, has benefited thousands of families of drivers and operators through this scholarship and livelihood programs. Another road project is the forthcoming EDSA Greenways project, which provides commuters with an environment-friendly 5-kilometer elevated walkway along EDSA. The covered green walkways will connect MRT3 stations to other modes of transports. Many of you are familiar with the highly successful EDSA busway. We are replicating this busway concept of dedicated lanes for public buses in Cebu and Davao. We call it Bus Rapid Transit, or BRT. We broke ground in Cebu last February together with the President for the Cebu BRT. This 13.18-kilometer segregated bus lane will have 17 stations, 1 terminal, and 1 depot. The project is scheduled for partial operations by 4th quarter of this year. full operation by first quarter of 2027. A few weeks back, the President was with us and some members of the cabinet in Davao to witness the signing of a $1 billion loan for the Davao Public Transport Modernization Program. This 74 billion project, like the EDSA Busway and Cebu BRT, involves the Davao Bus Rapid Transit, which extends to more than 500 kilometers of road system for use by more than 1,000 public buses, including more than 300 electric buses. The project will be completed in 2025. Another important road project is the construction of the El Nido Transport Terminal in Palawan. Funds for the project are being transferred to the local government of El Nido, who is expected to start construction before the end of this year. And the terminal should be completed by third quarter of 2024. Let us now move to the third transport sector, rails. We are accelerating the development, upgrade, and construction of big-ticket rail projects to be able to move more people and goods. Traveling by train has almost the same ecological footprint as walking. Trains emit lower carbon emissions per kilometer traveled compared to other road-based transport. The first railway project we expect to be completed is the LRT-1 Cavite extension. Partial operation is scheduled by the third quarter of next year with the opening of the first 5 stations. Last July 19, the President joined us in unveiling the 4th generation trains or light rail vehicles now being used on LRT Line 1. Meanwhile, MRT-3's rehabilitation has been completed without any disruption to its operations. The MRT Line 7 being built by San Miguel Corporation along Commonwealth Avenue in Quezon City towards San Jose del Monte, Bulacan should be completed and operational by the second or third quarter of 2025. Another much anticipated rail line is MRT-4, which will run from Taytay to EDSA Ortigas. MRT-4's consultancy and loan agreements are scheduled to be signed this year. The country's longest rail line yet, the 147-kilometer North-South Commuter Railway or NSCR, is undergoing full-scale construction from Clark to Calamba. Several weeks back, I discussed with the contractors building the different NSCR segments any possible measure to fast-track the civil works to overcome delays due to recent flooding along the rail line. We also broke ground for the Metro Manila segment of the NSCR that will see the construction of 4 stations, one in España, second Santa Mesa, Paco, and the Food Terminal Incorporated. While civil works and site development of the Malanday Depot is ongoing, ground was broken for the Banlik Depot near Calamba. We also signed the contract for the acquisition of the rolling stocks or trains to be used for the Airport Express service of the North-South Commuter Railway. Meanwhile, huge tunnel boring machines being used for the country's first underground rail system, the Metro Manila Subway, have started digging from the Valenzuela Station towards North Avenue Station. Works have also started for the Quezon Avenue and East Avenue stations, while 2 more tunnel boring machines are being tested to be used to dig the tunnel between Ortigas and Shaw Boulevard stations. The subway will run from Valenzuela to Bicutan with a spur line to NAIA Terminal 3. It stretches for 33 kilometers with 17 stations. It can accommodate as many as 520,000 passengers a day. Another big ticket rail project is the South Long-Haul Railway that goes all the way to Bicol. This used to be known to Filipinos as the Bicol Express. The project involves reconstructing the rail line to southern Luzon from Banlic Station, Laguna to Daraga Albay. The line stretches for 565 kilometers with 35 stations. A railway project awaited by many is the Mindanao Railway, which is currently in the process of design finalization. We are now working on the right-of-way and eventual acquisition of land. This 82 billion peso project will start from Digos to Davao City to Tagum, running for 100 kilometers. Once completed, it can accommodate up to 125,000 passengers per day. The Mindanao Railway is a hybrid passenger and freight line that will be the first railway in Mindanao. Last August 3, we signed an agreement with the Japan International Cooperation Agency for the formulation of a 30-year railway master plan. The plan will encompass the strategic expansion of rail systems in the Greater Capital Region while incorporating the training of railway staff and train operators. The final transport sector is maritime. The Philippines has vast and rich maritime resources, and the role of connecting our islands with each other and with our neighboring countries belongs to the Department of Transportation. Our maritime sector has been relentless in upgrading numerous seaports and ensuring the coastal cities and communities are competitive for trade, investment, and tourism. In recent weeks and months, maritime security attracted national and international attention because of repeated incidents with the Chinese Coast Guard inside the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone. Other unpleasant, even tragic incidents within the Philippine waters seem to raise questions on the capability and effectivity of our maritime agencies. What are these agencies? These are the Philippine Coast Guard or PCG, Maritime Industry Authority or Marina, Philippine Ports Authority or PPA, and the Cebu Ports Authority or CPA. Let's start with the Philippine Coast Guard. The Philippine Coast Guard has the biggest manpower at more than 25,000 personnel. They have been authorized to expand by another 4,000 this year. Their mandate includes maritime safety, maritime security, protecting our maritime environment, search and rescue, and maritime law enforcements. When our Coast Guard is not being harassed by the Chinese at our exclusive economic zone, they conduct regular socio-civic activities benefiting coastal communities. 2 days ago, they escorted a successful resupply mission for Filipino soldiers stationed at the BRP Sierra Madre at the Ayungin Shoal. They are currently procuring shore-based radio communications equipment as part of the Maritime Safety Capability Improvement Project. We are also looking at acquiring additional air assets, vessels, small crafts, and land mobility to strengthen the Coast Guard's automatic response to any emergencies or disasters. All year round, Coast Guard personnel are at seaports, airports, and bus terminals providing passenger assistance. You can even see them at the EDSA busway. The Philippine Coast Guard has the manpower to assist not just during calamities, but also in community building activities. The second vital maritime agency is the Marina. In addition to monitoring the operations of Philippine registered sea vessels, Marina also monitors the welfare of Filipino seafarers their training, certification, and deployment. There are currently 600,000 Filipino crew manning various domestics or foreign shipping vessels. Of that number, approximately 49,000 are on board vessels registered with the European countries. Last March, the European Commission decided to continue recognizing the certificates of training of Filipino marine officers, allowing them to stay on board European flagships. This is a major breakthrough on the decades-long issue of assessed lapses in the training and accreditation of our seafarers. The European Commission decision validated Marina's efforts at correcting the deficiencies in the country's compliance to the standards of training, certification, and watchkeeping of the European Commission. The European Union added that they are extending technical assistance in the form of a monetary grant to help the Philippines sustain its standards compliance efforts. An interagency task force is now closely monitoring the corrective measures addressing those recurring deficiencies through sustained efforts at instituting permanent solutions. The third maritime agency is the Philippine Ports Authority that is in charge of 745 seaports throughout the country. The Philippine Ports Authority has a list of 44 ongoing port projects, from port improvements to construction of breakwater, ro-ro ramp, and passenger terminals. Recently, they opened the country's biggest passenger terminal building at Calapan City, Oriental Mindoro, capable of accommodating more than 3,000 passengers a day. We have also seen the resurgence of cruise ships docking at our ports. Massive international cruise ships have been disgorging thousands of foreign tourists directly at popular holiday destinations. One such port for expansion to accommodate cruise ships is in Siargao. One important port project is the construction of the new Cebu International Container Port to be built by the Cebu Ports Authority in Consolacion, Cebu. The existing port of Cebu has already reached its maximum limit and needs expansion. With a project cost of almost 9.2 billion pesos, the new port will have berthing space for 2 large ships with 2,000 container capacity. The facility will also be equipped with 4 cranes inside a 25-hectare reclaimed island. Throughout the archipelago, further improvements and upgrades in our ports are being undertaken by the Philippine Ports Authority and the Cebu Port Authority. These projects would hasten economic activities by increasing the transport of goods and services. Let me go back to the priority expenditures cited by the Department of Budget and Management and how our projects align with them. First, many of our railway and road infra projects may be considered shovel-ready. A big chunk of our department's budget for 2024 is allocated for railway and road projects. During a visit by U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth at the North-South Commuter Railway Depot in Clark, she appreciated the meticulous preparations, including well-funded feasibility studies prior to starting any rail project. Second, our investment in human capital is showcased in the Philippine Railway Institute, or PRI. State-of-the-art facilities, including train simulators, mean we take railway operator training seriously. The PRI is the country's first railway research and training center, offering fundamental and refresher courses for thousands of railway systems personnel. A new 20,000 square meter building of the PRI is being built at Valenzuela Depot of the Metro Manila Subway. As to climate change adaptation and mitigation, our PUB modernization program aims to drastically reduce carbon emissions of traditional jeepneys by shifting to environment-friendly public utility vehicles, including electric vehicles. Our nationwide active transport program, or cycling advocacy, is a clear example of mitigating climate change. As mentioned earlier, our thrust to expand railway networks and promote trains as an efficient mode of transport is based on the use of electricity instead of fossil fuel as power source. We are advocating for travelers to use trains instead of cars. We also partake in digital transformation in various forms. We are pushing for the automated fare collection system in our modern jeeps, while recently unveiling electronic driver's license and an app to locate and retrieve license plates at the Land Transportation Office. We are soliciting private sector support to promote e-vehicles through the establishment of additional charging stations. Several operational reviews had led to simplification of processes at the Land Transportation Office, LTFRB, or the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, the Manila International Airport, various seaports, demonstrating our adherence to promoting ease of doing business. Lastly, we are at the forefront of regional development through airport and seaport infra projects. Convenient and efficient access at these points consequently promotes business and tourism. Many of our transport projects have followed the principles of transit-oriented development, or TOD, even before the concept was in vogue. We are putting in place the required transport infrastructures towards creating compact, walkable, pedestrian-oriented, mixed-use communities centered around train systems and other public transport hubs. We aim to break Filipinos' dependence on private cars for mobility. We are pushing this multi-sectoral approach to urban development through our transport projects. Aside from job generation, our projects have an impact on real estate value that is at core of right-of-way issues. In short, land value rises wherever we build airports, seaports, railways, or road improvements. This is where the real estate industry comes in. We hope that real estate developers would follow the demand for quality urban spaces that revolve around rail systems and public transport hubs. Even prior to project implementation, these projects boost economic activities in the communities surrounding project sites. When construction workers choose to resettle their families near the work sites, these families need access to markets and primary health care as well as schools. The socio-economic benefit creates a ripple effect on other sectors. Transit-oriented development can only be achieved with the collaboration of many different government agencies with the participation of the private sector. If transit-oriented development is deemed the solution to climate change and global energy security, we need to look at the problems through the same lens. We have to subscribe to transit-oriented development's concept of creating walkable communities that reduce the need for driving and high energy consumption. By aligning our projects to the transit-oriented development principle, we aspire to make a positive change to the lives of Filipinos through our transport projects. These projects require massive funding. We have turned to the private sector for investment collaboration. On many occasions, the keen interest displayed by private investors to our projects manifest their financial viability while remaining primarily public service initiatives. We also presented our projects to international financial institutions and foreign governments who expressed the same high interest. we are directing this multi-sectoral initiative towards a common goal, a better travel experience for all. Collaboration is key. We need the cooperation of various stakeholders, including those from the real estate industry. We aspire for a better future with enhanced standards of living and quality of life. The mission is comfortable, accessible, safe, sustainable, and affordable travel experience. This is our commitment. This is our pledge. But we will need the support of different sectors. We are open to partnering with the private sector, such as your group. We welcome bright ideas as well as positive criticisms so we can recalibrate our actions. And we have just started. There's more to be done. You are invited to join the bandwagon. Believe in us, join us, be part of the change we are bringing to the Philippines. Thank you and good morning.
Very good. Thank you very much, Secretary. Very exciting and a well put together presentation, whoever that was. Very interactive and all of that. So very good. Thank you very much for all you're doing. And please tell the people in your office where everybody is very pleased and impressed for the fantastic. This is going to be nation changing what these people are doing. So really pleased. We got to have a picture and a little trophy for you. Please, if I could have Chad come up with us, Jen De La Cruz, please, as well our mega wide friend Gigi. Can she come up? We'll have a picture.
May we invite our dear speakers and sponsors on stage
look
for
at
photo
this.
opportunity
It's
with
Christmas
the Secretary.
time here.
Our token of appreciation to be given by Ms. Karen Cesario of RLC
Oh, and Rosemary
Residences.
Sorry, Rosemary, please.
Maybe all the speakers, they can join also on stage to take photos. I think it's okay.
That's a
Yeah.
fantastic idea. Can we have Hannah Yulo is here. David Lee came down from Singapore for us. Miko with Lee Chu, who Arlene, BCDA. She's eager, glad to see her. SBMA friend. Who did I miss? So I'm doing it from memory here, so give me a break. Come on up, all of our speakers, let's go. This is a chance with Secretary Jaime Bautista. Oh, good. We have everyone? Anyone else? Okay. Good. Nice looking group, I gotta say. Okay, thanks everyone, and thank you to Secretary Jaime Bautista. Yeah, please congratulate this guy for the thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's watch and see how this nation will be transformed over the next few years. Extremely exciting. Another thing that's exciting about Philippines is business process outsourcing and shared services. Commercial real estate take-up is basically BPO shared services or people working with them. This is a tremendous growth industry, and as well on the residential side. A lot of the buyers of condos and residential space is people from this industry because they're highly paid and a bunch of good, hard-working people. Our next speaker is going to talk about what I call managed services, and she may have a different word for it, but companies, when they're new to the country, they won't immediately lease out a whole floor of office space and set up and so forth. They'll often go to an operation that offers flexible workspaces for them to start work in, and then they'll grow from there. Many, many more of these are staying in the flexible workspace providers like Figure. Figure is one of the kind of the premier operators. They've done really well, especially in the Metro Manila area. Now, but the SME segment is where the big growth is now. Large companies, you know, the big global companies, they've all already done outsourced work, but the real growth now is the huge, much bigger SME segment. So that's 30 million jobs, of which, I don't know, many are going to come here. Philippines is, if you don't know, it's become the global destination for anything related to customer excellence and back office functions. The Indians do a very good job in IT, but Philippines is pretty much everything else. So it's a really big opportunity we have. And at the heart of this is Jen and her organization. So I could go on because it's so exciting. Well, can I add one more thing? Okay, right now the official numbers are 1.5 million people employed in BPO shared services, growing. But according to the payment providers like Payoneer and so forth, they've announced 1.5 million in addition of people who are working directly, often from their homes, directly for international providers. Now, many of those are going to transition into places like what Jen offers, as that model is slowly unraveling. So this is a key area of growth for commercial real estate, is managed services provided. Jen, I know a bit took longer, but it's really exciting. Please welcome Jen De La Cruz of Figure Solutions. Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, Richard. Hi, so good morning, everybody. Okay, my name is Jen De La Cruz. I'm the Vice President for Client Services at Figari Group. I head the real estate and the leasing business of the company here in the Philippines and in Australia. Figari, we offer office leasing, construction, and IT services across all 4 countries. That's the Philippines, Australia, Canada, and Singapore. Me, myself, I've been with the company for over 6 years now. I started as a sales and marketing manager, promoted to leasing director, and now VP for client services. And I'm very, very happy to be here as one of the speakers in this forum, where I am giving the opportunity to speak about a topic or a segment, a real estate segment that's really close to my heart, and that is commercial leasing, or specifically office spaces. Okay? So today we'll talk about the power of office spaces, humanizing collaboration and community in the digital age. So this could be some sort of a controversial topic for some, because not everybody shares the same opinion about returning to work and remote work and using office spaces again, right? So, but since this is a real estate summit, we will highlight the importance and the power of office spaces and why we should be returning to the office. Okay, so where should I point? There. So let's talk about the numbers first, basic numbers of commercial leasing. So study shows that published rates in commercial leasing increased 8% over the past years in the highly coveted locations. So these are the CBDs, or the central business districts. They also said that the vacancy rate is 20.3% now across all those CBDs, and prime location like Bonifacio Global City, Makati, and Ortigas shown decline in their vacancy rate. There's 62% of demand, 62% increase in demand, in year-on-year surge of new leases as well. So what does that tell us? That tells us that higher published rates, lower vacancy rate, and higher demand, which are good key indicators. Later, one of the speakers, Miko Baranda from Leisure Property Consultants, will also talk about more about the numbers, and he'll show you how the market is performing right now. So, let us talk about the question, are office spaces still important in the digital age? You know, with all the tools in our disposal, we have Zoom, Teams, what else? Slack. So all this, do you think office spaces are still important? Who here says yes? Really? Who says no? Office spaces are no longer important in the digital age. Says no? Okay, so if you ask me, of course, my answer is yes, 100% yes. I can give you tons of reasons why, but since I only have 15 minutes, I just summarize my favorite ones into two parts. Okay, first, I want to talk about culture, learning, and career development. So this is a very compelling reason for me for us to go back to the office, the physical office. So when we say culture, the company culture, this means that within the organization, all of us are sharing the same purpose, behavior, standard, and vision, which is really important. Learning and career development comes after. And the best way to really teach company culture is during the first day or the onboarding of the employees. So we all have different styles on how we onboard our employees, right? So I'll tell you how we do it in Figari. During the first day of one of the new employee, what we will do is the employee will have the first part of the day doing the HR stuff, you know, the payroll, the HR policies, and that will last until 12 p.m. But the highlight of that first day is really the welcome lunch that all the Mancom team will be joining that new hire, so that we can share with them the culture of the company, our vision, our behavior. And this is really important for us as a company. Us in Figari, we operate mostly on trust. And the trust can only be built through building rapport, building accountability, and that actually are the stuff that you need to build the right company culture within the company. So, are you familiar of the company Salesforce? They are a software company based in California. So they said that their CEO said that, because they did a study for all their new hires, and they proved that new hires in the year 2021 and 2022 are showing lower productivity rate than the ones that they hired before. So he sent this message to his team, and he said, is this a reflection of our company policy, which is back then it was the work from home or the remote work. And he said, are we not building tribal knowledge with new employees without an office culture? And the reason why I highlighted this is because this is a very telling statement, because their CEO, Mark Benioff, is one of the earliest and most outspoken advocates of work from home. This, along with I don't know if you've seen the LinkedIn article going around about Zoom, asking their people to go back to the office, and then the caption will always be, work from home is dead, or remote work is dead. And this is a very telling statement, because it comes from realization, and it comes from comparison that they're doing from the previously hired employees and the employees that they have now. Okay, so I mentioned also that career development. Okay, so they said that you don't need to be in the office to physically get ahead. You don't have to be in the office physically to get ahead in the game or in your career. But study shows that, it's human nature to pay attention directly to what's in front of you immediately. What you see, what you hear, what you experience. That's human nature. And if you're in the office, it provides you with the social capital to be in the radar of those bosses and leaders. Some may not agree, some may agree, but people who would like to get ahead would really prefer to be in the office. Okay? And it says also, a study that they did in Deloitte, they said that less face-to-face interaction and cross-learning experience can quickly result into silo thinking and decrease of productivity. And of course, we don't want this in companies, decrease of productivity. The second part I want to talk about is collaborations and relationships. Really, really important. Collaborations, let's dwell into this study that, okay, according to the study that Stanford did, collaboration matters because people who work in the collaborative setting rather than individual setting performed 50% more effective in completing tasks and, basically at work. So this is very important because, not yet. Okay, have you been in those brainstorming sessions at work where ideas will just bounce off the wall and the energy is so contagious and it's so inspiring? And those sessions that you do at work physically, you can only do that, you know, when you're all together. And it's actually creativity on steroids. So the collaboration in a setting that you cannot do in a Zoom meeting or a Teams call, it's something that you can do in the physical office. So again, I want to ask you, who among you met their significant other, like husband or wives, at work? No one? No one? Okay. Okay. Other types of relationship. How about who amongst you have a work best friend or a work friend, work close friend? A lot? So fun, right? To have, oh, she's your work BFF. Okay. Mine too. I have work friends. So I have my work BFF, that's her. She doesn't know that her photo will be here. So one of the vice presidents also within our company. So we do a lot of things together, even outside work. And we, as you can see, there's we surprised our boss in one of his birthdays. We were drinking out. We were having dinners, lunch. That's our boss, by the way, our CEO. And I would say that I have a very good friendship with him. And that helps me thrive within my career. I can say that. So isn't that really heartwarming to have relationships within the organization? Relationships are really important. We need people, like-minded people, and we also need people that goes against our beliefs and opinions so that to challenge us so we can develop more in our career. Okay, next. So this is a very compelling reason. It's simple. People want to go back to the office because people care about people. So they said that 85% of employees would be motivated to go into the office to rebuild team bonds. 84% of employees will be motivated to go into office to socialize with coworkers. Where should I put it? It's not working. Sorry. 74% of employees will go to the office if their work friends are there. And 73% of employees will go to the office more frequently if they knew that direct team members would be there. Being in the office allows you to support people and be aware of what they are struggling with. Of course, we all know about interpersonal communication. So there's verbal, written, listening, and the non-verbal communication. The non-verbal communications are also important, so that's the facial expression, the gestures, the body language, so forth. This is something that you cannot really see when you do an online Zoom meeting or a Teams call, because it's something that you have to feel and see when it's in front of you. If there's someone feeling down, if there's someone struggling at work, they won't really verbalize it all the time. Some of them will just show their facial reaction showing it or their gesture showing it. So it's proven that using nonverbal communication can help empathize with your employees and even rebuild relationship and fix conflicts within the organization. Okay, so before I end this, I would just like to emphasize how there is value in creating a creative and fun work environment as an office space. Gone are the days that we just sit in a box, walls, and desk. This is the reason why the tech giants like Amazon, Google, they're really investing on their office spaces, because we have to make it fun. We have to make it an environment that amplifies our team's creativity so that we can we can set them up for success. Okay? So to wrap this up, office spaces are not just spots to park ourselves during the work hours. It is the very heart of collaboration. It is a hub for innovation, and it's a place where we build, I would say it's corny, but it's lifelong friendships. You know, friendships and relationships that last a lifetime. So, in saying that, I would like to thank everyone who listened and who joined this ride with me. And we can all take comfort that while the world is constantly evolving, our office spaces are still a force to reckon with and are still important. Thank you. Have an amazing Thursday.
Thank you very much, Jen. A pleasure. Thank you. Yes, this is a company to watch, and this whole concept is there will be tremendous growth because, and especially the real estate guys or the developers, you want to try to incorporate this into your developments, in my opinion, because not only is it a big growth concept in itself, but it's also an incubator for, because they'll often come when they're new to the country to an operation like that and then move out to their own dedicated space. So just a tip for you. But to talk more and much better than me about commercial real estate, our next speaker is one of the country's premier kind of operators in that area. Miko Baranda is head of leasing for Lichu Associates, or what I call Lichu Property Associates, I think is the proper name, sorry. And well known. You see their signs everywhere, and most of them, I think, have Miko's name and number on it to call. So we're really pleased to have him here to really give us an update about the commercial office space in the country. So please welcome Miko Baranda of Lichu Properties.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you again, Richard and Rebecca, for giving us this opportunity today to share with you our thoughts and insights in the Philippine office sector. Despite the havoc brought about by COVID in the last 3 years and all the uncertainties and instability happening around the world, the office sector has continued to remain resilient. And just a quick summary of what's happening and a few topics that we will dwell into today. In the first half of 2023, we've transacted close to about 554,000 square meters of leasing transactions. This is not a small number. To put that in perspective, that's about 46% above of what we did last year. And being in this industry for the last 13 years, we've seen that most of the transactions actually happen in the second half of the year. So we do expect that there's a possibility that we reach or we even breach 1 million square meters for 2023. Second is, for the first time in a long time, we've seen a bit of transactions happen in the Philippine offshore gaming operators, or the POGOs. Again, a very controversial topic, but in the 3 years during COVID, they've remained dormant. Very few spaces were taken by the POGO industry, but in the last 6 months, there was about 88,000 square meters that was taken in the market. And that number alone is more than what they did lease out in the previous 3 years. Although we have to, if you follow the POGO industry in itself, in 2018 and 19, which were the landmark years for that single industry where they wiped out most of the spaces in Metro Manila, especially in key parts of the Bay Area, Alabang, and Quezon City. In one single year, they were taking 700,000 square meters of space. So even though there was some activity today, it's still very far from how large of a take-up they did before. Second is, I guess the question is there longevity when it comes to POGO? Are they, or will they continue to take space in the next quarter or the end of the year? And the answer to that is, because of how volatile the industry is, it really is hard to say, and it is more for us to see what will happen in the next few quarters. Though what we can tell you today is we see some pipeline. So there are operators that have asked us for space, 10,000, 15,000 square meters. So we will know in the coming months whether these transactions will indeed push through. And finally, the vacancy levels in Metro Manila are still at 16%. So even though there's optimism in demand today, we wonder why is the vacancy level continue to hover in double-digit numbers. And the reason for that is many of the properties and buildings that were supposed to be completed in 2020, 2021, all got pushed back either intentionally or due to the lockdowns to last year and this year. So for every 1 square meter that's leased today, another square meter is injected into the supply. So which basically just cancels off the supply and demand. Though what we will show you in the charts later on is that we will see supply drop significantly starting 2024. And if demand continues on an upward trajectory, we believe vacancy levels will slowly taper down. Next. So just to dive into demand specific, this really just shows you how demand has behaved throughout the last few years. Yellow is the cumulative demand or quarter-on-quarter square meters that's taken up in the office sector. So as you will notice in the far left of your screen, 554,000, 500,000 square meters were taken in the first 6 months alone. The colors below are what we track as the demand driver, so who's taking space in the market. And blue is represented by the IT BPM or BPO sector. So as Richard mentioned, 1.5 million full-time employees today. There's a roadmap that the IBPAP has put together that they will grow that industry from what took them 20 years to get to 1.5 full-time employees. They will try to replicate in the next 5 years. They are hiring 1 million more people, more agents, which basically says that the industry in itself has done quite well during COVID and has so much room to grow. During the peak years of COVID, where everyone was shedding employment, the BPO sector in 2021 hired 120,000 people, where on average in previous years they would hire 40,000. In 2022, they hired another 120,000 people. And we did not feel most of that in the property sector because about every single one of them during the hard lockdowns were at home. But when the lockdowns were lifted and the sector continued to open and the doors were open up, we felt that in the demand. So again, even though hybrid is a component that they've adopted, we can see that they have continued to take space in the market. The gray line here is represented by everyone else. So these are traditional offices, brick and mortar, whether they're insurance companies, government, advertising agencies. We've seen a trend that there has been what you call a flight to quality. So meaning corporates or tenants that have been in buildings for more than 10 years, buildings that have been around for 15 years, they are seizing the opportunity today to move those offices to more modern buildings with the flexibility component of being able to negotiate a good price today, given the supply in the market. And finally, red is the POGO industry. So as pointed out earlier, they took zero space in first quarter 2020, dormant all throughout, and a spike in the last quarter, 77,000, where many or most of them actually did deals in the Bay Area. So just to dissect that further, of that 554,000, where did tenants take space? So about 80% are still heavy in Metro Manila, but we are very optimistic about the province, especially what Secretary Bautista shared earlier of how the Philippines will actually be more connected in the next decade. And we've seen a lot of provinces outside of the main second-tier cities, such as Cebu and Davao, that have gone to tremendous lengths on growth due to the activity brought by the IT BPM sector. But in Metro Manila, tenants at leased space predominantly are still in the core districts. That would be Makati, Bonifacio, and Ortigas. Though in the Bay Area, we've seen quite a lot of activity happening, and predominantly due to the POGO industry. In the province, it also is, just to note, you don't see Davao or Iloilo in the screen. It's Cebu, Clark, and CDO. And the reason for that is because those two districts have very little space available today. companies that have expanded in the province during COVID has taken most of their footprint in these places that they are actually experiencing very low vacancy levels. Hence, many of the local developers and also the large developers are now taking a position in those places, building more today in anticipation of the demand that they see currently. Now, for us to be able to really forecast what the next 6 months will look like, our team tracks every single square meterage activity in the market. So whether it's a 4 square meter kiosk looking for a space in the lobby or a 5,000 square meter tenant looking to expand, we put that in what we call live requirements. And as of Q3, or at least the last quarter, we have visibility of another 500,000 square meters of leasing transactions that want to get completed in the next 6 months. This gives us a lot of optimism in the market that there is activity happening. Yes, there's a lot of supply, but at least the demand is on its way to a upward trajectory. Now, we've spoken about demand in terms of gross demand, but we also track what you call net demand, of how much space is really taken in the market. And the way for us to be able to explain that is blue represents demand and red represents contractions. So every single tenant that has given up their space, those that have in the midst of pandemic said, you know, we will do full remote, we will give up our office, or we will shrink our office and downsize. So early years, you saw that basically meet equilibrium, but if you look at the most recent quarters, the gap is starting to widen, and the blue line demand is starting to widen against the contractions. So today, the Philippines is still net positive, which is very fortunate given all the other markets in the world where they are experiencing the opposite, especially if you track what's happening in the US, San Francisco, etc. Now, talking about contractions itself. So similar to how we've depicted demand earlier, we also want to give you an idea of what contractions really look like. So at the very peak of COVID, the most uncertain times, vaccines were only being rolled out not as fast as people wanted. No one really knew whether they will go back to the office, or is this a permanent, the remote thing might be more longer than what many have expected. That was between Q3 2020 to Q1 2021. And imagine during those times, every quarter, 200,000 square meters is being released in supply. 200,000 square meters each quarter is being given up by companies. But also, we have to take into account that about 70% of those are POGO companies. Now, at the end of this yellow line, contractions have normalized today at only 80,000 square meters. From the peak of almost 600,000, 700,000 in one single year, we're now seeing companies a bit more comfortable on what their arrangement will really be moving forward, whether it be a 50-50 hybrid or full remote or the opposite. Now, the caveat being, again, there's a lot of supply today. 3.2 million square meters in the entire Philippines of office supply. What we want to point out, though, we have to look at this table on a per district basis rather than look at Metro Manila as one whole block. Bonifacio Global City today has the lowest vacancy levels at 9%. If a tenant today has asked us to look for 5,000 square meters of contiguous floors in Bonifacio, we will probably be left with only 3 buildings. That's how supply in that district is beginning to tighten up. And we see Makati will follow next, and so on and so forth. But to the left side of your screen is where we really want to basically point out where the opportunities are. So this year, in the second half alone, there's another 600,000 square meters that will be completed. So if we do 500,000 demand, you won't feel the vacancy levels drop just because it cancels out. But starting 2024, supply will drop dramatically from 500,000, 400,000 to very low levels. And that's predominantly because many of the developers today are also in a position where they don't want to build office for the next 5 years. But for others that have that foresight to build, they will be and finish in 28, 29. They will complete their building at a time where supply will be at its lowest. So given that supply will drop dramatically and demand, as we can see in the charts, are starting to climb, vacancy levels starting next year will start to come down from 16% today to much lower in a very fast period of time. And finally, just, I guess, an understanding of where rates are today. So this is Metro Manila. Of course, we still see a lot of opportunities for tenants out there. Many of the developers' published rates have remained the same even before COVID, pre-COVID, and today. But when we get into the midst of many of these deals, especially the developers that are experiencing quite a lot of inventory, they can be flexible. So there's a lot of opportunities for tenants. There's opportunities from developers, as mentioned in the supply pipeline earlier. And with that, thank you again for giving us the time to talk to you about the market. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks, Miko. Yes, there's a lot more that he can add, and because it's a very detailed and a lot of information, that a lot going on in that industry. So if you ever want to have a chat with him, you'll go into a lot more. I don't know. I find it very interesting, all of that stuff. So, but yeah, pleased Miko could share some of it, and you see that it is an optimistic story. So we're good to hear about that. Our next speaker is another optimistic story. Peg Ibig Fund is a major force in real estate lending in the country. I think something like 150,000 loans I think they provide per year. Also the lowest interest rates. We attended I think it was their annual meeting maybe 3 or 4 months ago. What was it, Arlene? And they announced their interest rates. I can't remember but far below what you can get in any other, commercial forum. So really a force in real estate. 1 in 4 OFW loans to OFWs, for instance, come from this organization. So also a nice bunch of people. We've always been pleased with their commitment to doing what they do and helping people and getting them into housing. So we're pleased to have Arlene with us. Please welcome Arlene Reyes of Peg Ibig Fund to give us an update about their organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Good morning, everyone. I would like to greet our colleagues in the housing industry, developers, real estate practitioners, and other housing financing institution a rainy Thursday morning. It is an honor to be joining you today and for allowing me to speak on behalf of Pag-ibig Fund Chief Executive Officer, Marilyn C. Acosta. Thank you, Asia CEO Chairman Richard Mills and Chief Executive Officer Rebecca Bustamante for inviting us to share what Pag-ibig Fund is currently doing and how we are working towards the development and growth of the real estate and housing industry. We welcome the invitation of the Asia CEO for an opportunity to speak in front of key stakeholders in the real estate industry. Some of you may have collaborated with us in your projects, while some may have yet to partner with us in the delivery of your housing projects. I specifically oversee the acquired assets of Pag-ibig Fund, and I do hope that you may also be interested in purchasing these properties. In all, I hope that by the end of my report, we would have gained your stronger trust in Pag-ibig Fund and that you will see the benefit of partnering with us in providing affordable home financing for Filipinos. Let me begin with an overview of what Pag-ibig has accomplished so far in the first semester of 2023. Pag-ibig Fund, as you may well know, pursues a twin mandate, that of providing a provident savings for Filipino workers who, through their membership and savings with the fund, can have access to affordable home financing. To achieve these mandates, Pag-ibig Fund offers numerous programs to its members from both the savings and shelter financing fronts. Over the years, our programs and services have evolved, and this reflects how we continue to innovate and find means to provide the most relevant and responsive product that will meet the needs and demands of our members and partner developers. We ended 2022 with 15.12 million active members. This is the highest number of active members over the last 5 years, even surpassing our pre-pandemic active membership in 2019. I am happy to report that as of June 2023, we have further increased our active membership to 15.56 million members. This means that in a span of 6 months, over 440,000 Filipino workers have been added to Pag-ibig Fund's growing membership. This means that more Filipinos now have the opportunity to access the many benefits of being a Pag-ibig Fund member. With more members in our fold, and with the ever-growing trust and appreciation of our members in saving with Pag-ibig Fund, I am happy to report that for the first half of 2023, our members collectively saved 44.55 billion in total membership savings. This is a 15% increase from our collections during the same period last year. And this stands as the highest for any January to June period in our history. Driving the growth of our membership savings collection is our popular modified Pag-ibig 2 or MP2 savings. This is our mandatory savings program where members may save a minimum of 500 pesos, locked under a 5-year term during which it shall earn our members competitive returns. For 2022, our MP2 savers earned a 7.03% dividend return for their savings, which is relatively higher than most savings products in the market. From January to June 2023, MP2 savings collections reached 23.6 billion, a 15% increase from 19.4 billion collected during the first half of 2022. This is the highest voluntary savings we have collected from our members in the history of the fund. The consistent growth and sustained popularity of the MP2 savings program show our members' unwavering trust and confidence in Pag-ibig Fund and our capacity to protect and grow their hard-earned peso. We also recognize that along with this trust comes our members' expectations that the returns on their savings shall remain high. That is why we shall do all that we can to meet our members' hopes. With our funding strong, we were able to fulfill our mandate of providing affordable home financing to our members. For the first half of the year, housing loan takeout reached 57.07 billion, a 10% increase from the same period last year. Again, this is the highest for any January to June period in our history. Of this amount, we were able to finance a total of 44,414 housing units for our member borrowers. Pag-ibig Fund has always strived to keep its interest low. Even during the pandemic, we offered promo rates to encourage those who may be afraid of the economic situation at that time to continue with their plans of acquiring their own home. Last July, we further reduced the interest rates on our regular housing loan, making it even more affordable for members. We at Pag-ibig Fund take to heart our responsibility to provide our members with affordable home financing. With our performing loans ratio at its highest and collections from both membership savings and loan payments at a record high, we have been able to effectively fund the high demand for our home loans without the need to borrow from the market. As a result, we were able to reduce the interest rates on our housing loan despite the upward market trend. Under the new rates, the Pag-ibig housing loan now carries a lower interest rate of 6.25% per annum under a 3-year repricing period from the previous 6.375%. Interest rates for the 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30-year repricing periods have also been reduced as shown on the screen. With this, we are making home ownership even more attainable for Filipino workers. We are also happy to note that we continue to provide our members from the minimum wage and low-income sectors the opportunity to gain their own homes with our affordable housing program for minimum wage earners. Under this program, qualified borrowers shall enjoy a subsidized rate of 3% per annum for home loans of up to 580,000 for socialized subdivision projects and up to 750,000 for socialized condominium projects. And from January to June 2023, 13% of the total housing units financed through our housing loans were socialized units with an aggregate amount of 2.42 billion pesos. These allowed 5,748 low-income and minimum wage earners to have homes of their own. Our acquired assets also remain an accessible and more affordable option for our members seeking to own a home for less. We offer 10 to 30% discounts to our members depending on their modes of payment. We also offer to groups, employers, LGUs, and developers our acquired assets bulk and group sale options, which aim to provide you with that means to empower your employees, constituents, and potential borrowers to purchase their own homes. We even extend a discount of 40% based on the aggregate property selling price, provided that the total amount of the properties you will buy as a group will amount to at least 10 million. And an even higher discount of 45% should be granted if the total property amount you will purchase is at least 100 million. We at Pag-ibig Fund recognize that many of our members rely on us for immediate financial assistance. That is why we have a reliable cash loans, the Pag-ibig short-term loans to provide them added funds for their needs. From January to June 2023, we were able to extend 26.88 billion in short-term loans. which again is the highest amount of short-term loans disbursed by Pag-ibig for the first or for any first semester. Of the 26.88 billion in short-term loans we disbursed, 97% are from multipurpose loan, our MPL, amounting to 26.17 billion. This has provided immediate financial assistance to more than 1.18 million members. On the other hand, the remaining 3% are from calamity loans amounting to 709 million. This in turn has aided more than 40,000 calamity-stricken members who we have provided funds to help rebuild their lives. Our short-term loans are ready to help our members and provide them with financial assistance, be it our calamity loan, particularly for members affected by typhoons Egay and Falcon, or our multipurpose loan, especially as our members seek extra cash to pay for the school-related expenses as the academic season resumes. For those who may be needing financial support, Pag-ibig Fund is ready to assist you with our different cash loan programs, depending on your needs and purpose. We at Pag-ibig Fund highly value sustainability as it allows us to continue providing affordable loans to our members while ensuring that the savings claims of members who have retired or whose accounts have matured are also fulfilled. That is why I'm happy to note that our loan payment collections remain strong. For the first half of the year, we collected a total of 69.24 billion in loan payments, consisting of 30.98 billion in short-term loans and 38.26 billion in housing loan payments. Once again, the amount of loan payments we have collected so far are the highest for any January to June period. With our strong collections, I am even happier to report that performing loans ratio, or PLR, continues to rise. For the first half of the year, our PLR is now at its highest in Pag-ibig Fund's history. Last June 2023, our PLR reached 92.8%. This is a testament to our efficient collection efforts, the support of our stakeholders in the housing industry, and most importantly, the support of our members who religiously pay the monthly payments for their home loans. Our PLR reflects three key things. One is, as mentioned, the efficiency of our collections. Second is that it shows the level of our sustainability in ensuring that funds are replenished and can be utilized to address the demand for loans. And third, it speaks of the quality of homes that are produced by those in the housing industry. We understand that sometimes Pag-ibig Fund is the only chance that our members, especially those in the low-income bracket, to be approved of funding for house purchase. We make sure that while our loans are affordable, the properties they can get are of good quality, sustainable, and one that can be passed on to the next generation. I am also happy to report that our total assets are now nearing the 900 billion mark. Last June, total assets have already reached 873.15 billion, a 46 billion peso increase from our 2022 asset level of 827.4 billion. Once again, this is a testament to the strong growth of your Pag-ibig Fund. We have always emphasized that when Pag-ibig Fund performs well, it is our members who benefit the most. And having achieved record high numbers while maintaining a sound and sustainable fund during the first half of 2023, we are happy to report that we have also posted a net income of 20.61 billion for the first 6 months of 2023. This is an 11% increase compared to the net income we posted during the same period last year. Pag-ibig Fund is owned wholly by its members, the Filipino workers. That is why, as administrators of the fund, it is our responsibility to manage their contributions wisely and excellently. Our performance during the first half of the year shows how excellently we are managing the funds that our members have saved with us. With our second half projections on our loan releases, collections, and performing loans ratio, we are optimistic that we can maintain our financial performance and provide Filipino workers the best returns on their savings, as well as the means to acquire their own homes through our affordable home financing. With our strong fiscal standing, we remain in a strong position to finance more homes under the Pambansang Pabahay para sa Pilipino or 4PH program in line with the directive of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. In line with our mandate of providing affordable home financing, Pag-ibig Fund has committed 250 billion over the next 6 years through our developmental loan program in support of the Marcos administration's Pambansang Pabahay para sa Pilipino or 4PH. And I'm happy to share that for the first months, with the unrelenting effort of the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development, Secretary Jerry Acosar, the number of local government units, LGUs, and private companies who have expressed their support to the 4PH has grown dramatically. To all the developers present today, many of these LGUs we have partnered in the 4PH program have the land where they can build housing projects for their constituents, but do not have the technical knowledge. So what we need are able, competent, and professional developers like you to complete the equation. At this time, let me share with you yet another milestone that we at Pag-ibig Fund are truly proud of. Last June 2022, COA informed Pag-ibig Fund that it has rendered an unmodified opinion on the fairness of the presentation of our financial statements for the years 2021 and 2022, enabling us to maintain our streak of garnering COA's unqualified and unmodified opinion for 11 straight years. We take pride in what we do, but we recognize that these accomplishments are a result not just of our own initiatives, but a collective effort of our partners and stakeholders. Our very name speaks of the synergy we use to accomplish our mandates. Pag-ibig, Pag, then IBIG stands for Pagtutulungan sa Kinabukasan, Ikaw, which refers to our members, Bangko, our financial institutions, Industriya, referring to our partner developers, employers, organizations, at Gobierno, which includes LGUs and regulating agencies. What I have reported are just numbers and figures, which is the empirical proof of our accomplishments. Like what our CEO always say, the numbers speak for itself. The numbers we have achieved, the new record highs, the highest ever numbers are important to us because They represent the growth of what we have accomplished year after year. Behind these figures, however, are stories of lives transformed for the better, of families who now live safe and sound in their own homes, of workers who now have the assurance of a future with financial security and freedom, of low-income earners finding hope, solace, and assurance from a reliable financial institution who will respect their dignity and provide them aid during their times of needs. Again, thank you very much for having me. And on behalf of Pag-ibig CEO, Marilyn Acosta, as well as my fellow Lingkod Pag-ibig, maraming salamat po at mabuhay po kayo.
Thank you very much, Arlene. So real estate developers, you want to connect with and work out some kind of an arrangement with Arlene and her group. There's a lot that they're doing. I hope you got the message she was giving. It's that there's going to be millions of people from Philippines who are going to join the global middle class, and a big chunk of them are going to get their loans from Arlene. So yeah, really pleased to have Arlene. And we're also very pleased to have our next guest, Karen Magno of SPMA, Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority, I think is the proper term. We've been doing events, some of you know, in Clark for many years, and we've seen that region grow to what it is now. I don't know how many of you get up to there regularly, but it's just crazy the amount of growth and opportunities that are happening there. Subic Bay is in the stage where Clark was, I don't know, 5 years ago, 7 years, whatever. This is the opportunity now that you're going to see tremendous things happen. And we're pleased that I mentioned, you know, a Subic group, we had them speak in Cebu as well, was it? And they're eager and they really want to get the message out. So we want to hold an event there as well at some point. So we're talking about that. But as an example today, I mentioned the group got up at 3 a.m. in the morning to drive down here to be with us. So check out, anyway, I won't go on too much, but please welcome Karen Magno of SPMA, come down to give us an interesting story about this opportunity. And this is a big opportunity. This is right at the top of that economic corridor they talk about that goes from Subic, Clark, all the way down through to Batangas. So a lot is going to happen there, and we're really pleased to have Karen with us.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Richard and Miss Rebecca, for inviting again the Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority to be part of this event. I am truly humbled and grateful to share with you the development of the Subic Bay Freeport real estate business. I'd like to begin my presentation by giving just a very brief background about our place. As you may already know, the Subic Bay Freeport was used to be a naval base for the US. It was actually a home for the Americans for 92 years. But when the RP Bases Agreement expired, our government decided not to renew the contract and converted this into a self-sustaining investment center. And this is where we are today. We continue to be a catalyst of growth and development in Central Luzon. It has established itself as a strategic outpost for trade and commerce, serving as a gateway of investment in the manufacturing and maritime sector, logistics, leisure, ICT, and the general business. As for our numbers, June 30, 2023, we have about 1,797 foreign and local investors with a cumulative investment of $11.2 billion and an actual workforce of 154,120. Ladies and gentlemen, this actual number of employment is already 5 times bigger than the number of employment when the Americans left in 1992. Okay, $8 billion US dollar worth of asset and infrastructure was left by the Americans. This was turned over to the government. They were preserved, they were maintained, and even used as offices for government employees of the SBMA. List out also to some of our major locators, but there are new additions. There are new developments brought in by our locators. And I would like to walk you through the conversion of the Subic Bay Freeport Zone into an investment promotion agency that we are right now. It's starting with the industrial part of the Subic Bay Freeport Zone. Okay, I think there's something wrong with the clicker. We have two operators of industrial park, two developers and operators, and the SBMA is a co-joint venture company for these two industrial park developers. One is Taiwanese. The joint venture company is SBDMC Inc. It stands for Subic Bay Development and Management Corporation. The project is to develop a 157-hectare property. They are now host to about 220 locators with a workforce of 16,200. We have phase 1 and phase 2. We call it the Subic Bay Gateway Park. The second park is the Taiwanese Park. The joint venture company is Subic Techno Park. It is actually smaller in size, 55 hectares, and it is now hosting 20 investors with an employment of 10,000 workers. And then coupled with amenities and infrastructure support, these are just some of the major investors that we have in Subic. They decided to come to Subic and develop their own factories. First, we have the Taiwanese manufacturing giant Acer. This company is engaged in the production of laptops. Their property is 15 hectares inside the Gateway Park, phase 1. They have 2 modern manufacturing companies and 1 administration building. They are registered with the agency as Wistron Infocom Philippines. And then next, at the Subic Bay Gateway Park, phase 2. Not working again. Yes, so again, Subic Bay Gateway Park phase 2, we have Dashan. This is another Taiwanese investor engaged in the production of vulcanized shoes. The leased property is 7 hectares. They have 2 factories, 1 3-hectare and 1 4-hectare. The rubber shoes that you're wearing, Converse, Keds Vans, is made from Subic. And then we also have this latest addition for our Japanese companies, Tayu Subic. This company, I think, came in 2019. They are engaged in the production of reducers gear for industrial robots. This is what the property looks like in May 2019. This is what the property looks like in August 2019. And then finally, it was finished in January 2020. A new technical building inside the Subic Techno Park. And then we also have this manufacturing plant built by Nidec. Again, this is a Japanese company engaged in the production of electronic materials. However, they diversified their product and engaged in the production of small-size reducers gear for industrial robots. Last year, our board approved the expansion plan of this company to renovate an existing facility and to build a new one. This is for them to be able to accommodate the increasing demand for medium-size reducers gear for industrial robots. So we continue. This is the research and development facility newly constructed by Sanyo Denki. This is another Japanese company engaged in the production of electronic materials. What they have in Subic are 2 modern manufacturing plants and this building. I'm also happy to share with you that the 3rd manufacturing building is actually being constructed, and this is expected to be finished by December of this year. And then this company, Sangyu Denki, focus in the production of cooling fans. And this is their response to aid the government in producing respirators, cooling fan respirators, and other medical devices. As our two industrial parks are reaching full potential, a third player came in. This is the third Taiwanese company whose commitment is to develop a 200 hectare property in Tipo. This will be undertaken in 3 phases, predominantly to accommodate industrial development, residential development, and commercial development. And all these 3 phases are being done simultaneously. And then next, we proceed to our airport and the seaport. Our airport is in the 200-hectare aviation facility of the Subic Bay Freeport Zone. The air station of the former US Navy was converted into an international airport with 10,000 square meter passenger terminal and a framework system certified by the International Civil Aviation of the Philippines. I am also happy to share with you that the Department of Transportation has made our airport an alternative port to transport our OFW kababayans. We have recorded 82 flights transporting about 20,000 passengers from July of 2021 to February of 2022. And then we have a complete port, and this is something that we really are very proud of. We are the only place in the Philippines, if not in the world, that has this capacity. The orange marking represents the 15 piers and wharves that we have in the Subic Bay Freeport Zone. Break bulk, cargo, general cargo, and then liquid bulk. And then we also have the largest fuel storage facility in Subic, which has a capacity to accommodate 6 million liters. And this is now being operated by our partner, the Philippine Coastal Storage and Pipeline Corporation. We also have the container terminal in place in Subic. Our partner is ICTSI. They are the operator of NCT 1 and 2, and the capacity of this terminal is 600 TEUs a year. I'm having trouble with this one. Anyway, what you can see from the slide is the shipyard built by the Korean company engaged in shipbuilding, Hanjin. At the peak of operation of Hanjin, with 33 workers, the Philippines was among the largest shipbuilder in the world until the operation folded in 2019. But we're happy to inform the group that the American equity firm Cerberus has brought this property. They have created and incorporated local subsidiaries. This is Aguila NY and Aguila South Inc., which are now the lessee of this 315 industrial estate. So with the acquisition of the shipyard is expected to rebound and provide benefits to the country by providing jobs to the surrounding communities and providing areas for investment in this particular area. We go to renewable energy. We take pride that we were among the first to have this kind of development more than 10 years ago. When they came to Subic, there were no policies, there were no policy framework, but we were able to do it. What you can see from the slide is the project of Jobin SQM, whose commitment is to develop a 200 megawatt solar power. 100 megawatt has already been in place. 72 megawatt is being developed at this moment. This was our response to augment the scarcity of power more than 10 years ago. And then very quickly, I just would like to show you some slide on the on hotel, leisure, and the tourism industry. This is the Triboa Majestic Bay. The redevelopment What's wrong? There, we're back. This is the Turboa Majestic Bay. So the redevelopment of this property, can you please press one slide? There. The redevelopment of this property is through a consortium. 3 Taiwanese companies are committed to develop luxury condominium units, hotel and resort facilities, and clubhouse. The location is at Turboa. This is where the 18 leaders came to stay when we hosted the APEC Summit in 1996. And then we also have the Yacht Club. We have several resorts, beach resort. This is the development made by ASEA. The Lighthouse Marina Resort. The Camana Sanctuary, which is developed between the forest and the bay. And then we have 3 housing facilities, 1 in Biniktikan, 1 in Kalayaan, and then 1 in QB. Can you please press one slide? Another. And another. Okay. We also have an 18-hole golf course. This is also a redevelopment by a Japanese company. The second phase will be the introduction and construction of condotels, gym, resort facilities, swimming pools, and other support facilities. And then we also have the redevelopment of the Subic Bay Exhibition and Convention Center. This is to prepare the Subic Bay Freeport and to aid in the accommodation of the 30th Southeast Asian Games. The feature includes 4 large halls that can accommodate 5,000 attendees in a theater-type seating arrangement. Along with the convention center is the redevelopment of the Subic Gym. This was also prepared to accommodate exporting events for the Southeast Asian Game in 2019. And then I'd like to introduce to you the new chairman and administrator of the Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority, Chairman Jonathan D. Tan, as the initial stands jobs, development, and tourism. And speaking about development, the first project that our chairman would like to do is to have a centralized transportation terminal at the Central Business District. And this should accommodate about 55 buses, ingress and egress, access for taxi, vans, and private vehicles. And it also should come with a passenger terminal to accommodate 500 sittings. This is also being envisioned to have buses stop in major areas like the housing facilities, the malls, the airport, and industrial parks. So the first project is the SBM8 Corporate Center. We also envision to have this kind of project in Subic. So if you are interested, please come and approach me. We are ready to accommodate your question. This is another potential project, the third phase of the NCT3. This is being earmarked right now to accommodate the logistics and transport requirement for renewable energy such as wind farm. And then next is the development of the Redondo Peninsula. We are running out of facilities to offer to investors with big ticket requirement. So we are now taking a look at this property to offer to them. The Redondo is at the left side of the presentation. This is very ideal for industrial park development, the frontage, and then at the ridge of the Redondo can be accommodated for renewable energies, wind farms, solar farms, and then at the back of the Redondo is an area similar to what they have at the Amalfi Coast. So we envision to have a development of resorts and townhouses facing the bay. And then lastly, we have 3 beautiful coves at the back of Redondo. This can be earmarked for cruise ship hub or even theme park development. But the challenge is we have to connect Redondo to the mainland. And we can only open this by having a bridge in place. And this is why I am here with you right now to ask you if you could take a look and study this project, because this is an opportunity for us to provide more investment opportunities and workers to the surrounding community. So with this, ladies and gentlemen, I end my presentation. I would like to invite everyone to please come to Subic and take a look at the business opportunities that we have. On behalf of our chairman and the whole SBMA family, thank you very much.
Wow, very nice, very good. Thank you, Karen. A lot going on. I didn't know they were doing as much as they're doing. So like I said, we want to speak with your group, Karen, and maybe we can get an event up there where everybody can come up. But for real estate opportunities, a lot there. So, and speaking of real estate opportunities, BCDA, the Basis Conversion Development Authority. Clark is a place that we've held events for a while, and that transformation has been quite a situation. Now there's stadiums and water parks and all kinds of beautiful new developments and so on. So to update us with that, because it really seems that Clark and BCDA is really poised to be real world-class, big-scale opportunity there. So let's have an update with that. Please welcome Attorney Gisela Calalo, the Executive Vice President of the Basis Conversion Development Authority, BCDA. Thank you very much, Gisela.
Good morning, everyone. So on behalf of our President and CEO, Joshua Bincang, we'd like to thank the organizers for inviting us and giving us this opportunity to present our company and what we have been doing in and around Clark. Sorry. So the Basis Conversion and Development Authority, it is a state-owned enterprise. And just like SBMA, we have this very interesting mandate to convert former military baselands into economic hubs. As a catalyst for national growth, the BCDA is one of the major forces in creating opportunities for and in the country through our economic zones under the BCDA group. These are being managed and administered by our subsidiaries and or implementing arms which have been created for that purpose. Sorry. So let me walk you through the BCDA properties. North of Luzon, we have the Poro Point Freeport Zone in La Union, the John Hay Economic Zone in Baguio, and then in Central Luzon, we have the Clark Freeport Zone and Special Economic Zone, where the new Clark City, the Clark Civil Aviation Complex, and Clark Main Zone are located. We also have properties in Bataan, and of course in Metro Manila, just like the new Port City and our pride, the Bonifacio Global City. As the Clark Freeport Zone, and the Special Economic Zone is actually the biggest land holding of BCDA, with properties measuring about 32,000 hectares. These are located in the provinces of Tarlac and Pampanga. 4,400 of which is the Clark Freeport Zone, and the rest is the Clark Special Economic Zone, where the new Clark City, which is the topic of my presentation for today, is located. And as the biggest land holding, we are aggressively positioning our properties in Clark to be the next investment destination in Asia. And we have developed a holistic, globally and strong approach we call the One Clark. And we in the BCDA group are working together to achieving a common goal, which is to make our the whole metropolis a gateway for the Philippines, Philippines gateway to the world. So let me present to you the grandest project that BCDA is implementing to date. We have this New Clark City, and it is the first smart, green, and resilient metropolis in the Philippines with a land holding of about 9,450 hectares. And we will be offering our properties therein through lease arrangements and joint venture agreement for a maximum period of 75 years. So this development has a projected population of about 1.2 million and projected employment of about 600,000 workers. And in line with our vision to develop a sustainable metropolis, 60% of this property will be forest reserves, and some will be developed as public spaces and parks. So in terms of connectivity, we are proud to say that this development is unmatched. Why? Because for aviation, we have the Clark International Airport. This is our project. We own this property. BCDA owns this property. And we have built this because it is our vision to provide the convenience of a world-class gateway to a vital infrastructure and major economies of the world. So this airport can accommodate 8 million passengers in a year. For railway, we have the North-South Commuter Rail and the Subic-Clark Cargo Rail. For the North-South Commuter Rail, this aims to reduce travel time from Manila to Clark, or from Clark to Manila, and this will feature the very first airport express rail. For Subic-Clark Cargo Rail, this will provide freight services from Subic Bay Freeport to Clark Freeport and Special Economic Zone. So these two projects, these two government projects, we are also taking part in their implementation. For road, of course, this is also our project. BCDA owns this project, the Subic-Clark Tarlac Expressway, and it has several access roads leading or going to the New Clark City with dedicated bike lanes. While for network, we have partnered with Facebook for the development of a high-speed internet service. This is together with the Department of Information and Communication Technology. This will readily address the real data needs of our anchor locators. So what do we have now in New Clark City? We have this National Government Administrative Center. It has world-class sports facilities, residential units, and of course open spaces for our residents and workers to enjoy. We have a 20,000-seater athletic stadium which meets the global standards. It has been certified by the International Association of Athletics Federation. We also have the Aquatic Center. This is a 2,000-seater center, and it has a 10-lane Olympic-sized pool, a diving pool, and a warm-up pool, and it is also certified by the International Swimming Federation. We also have the Athletics Village. This is a 525-unit PWD-friendly accommodation facility for our athletes, coaches, and visitors. It is complete with training amenities. It has a library and conference room for every floor, a swimming pool also, a basketball court, dining area for our athletes to enjoy. We have also established the UPPGH Polyclinic in NGAC. This will address the immediate medical needs of our athletes and also the residents and workers in New Clark City. It is worthy to note that one of the visions in developing this property is for it to serve as a backup site for the government. So with that, we built these two buildings. this will withstand magnitude 8.9 earthquake. And so this backup facilities will be to ensure, or the purpose of this is to ensure that the continuous service of the government in case of a disaster happens in Metro Manila, God forbids. It is also worthy to note that this will just be the first of the many buildings to be erected in NGAC, considering an executive order that has been issued by the Office of the President mandating the government agencies to establish satellite offices in New Clark City. So these are the institutional and government developments or upcoming developments in New Clark City. Of course, we have the BSP complex. The Bangko Central of the Philippines, or the Central Bank of the Philippines, I'm sorry, has identified New Clark City as its home for its minting facility, the currency production facility, and they are really eyeing for a state-of-the-art security for this complex. The Department of Science and Technology, on the other hand, has also chosen the New Clark City to house the first ever Virology and Vaccine Institute of the Philippines. So this will be the premier research and development in the Philippines in the field of virology. Sorry. It's not working. Next slide, please. Okay. So we have also partnered with the top universities and schools in the Philippines. We have the University of the Philippines, the Philippine Science High School, the Polytechnic University of the Philippines, and the latest institution that has been established by the government, the National Academy of Sports, where students who will qualify for NAS will be molded into competitors that are ready to compete in the international tournaments. Okay, of course, we prioritize our investors, so we have identified industrial estates, and these industrial estates are located in premier locations in New Clark City. We have 100-hectare property, 250 hectare, another 250 hectare property, and another 100-hectare property or industrial estate in New Clark City. So we are we will be providing or offering competitive rates for our investors who will establish business that will truly add value to our property, businesses that will that are aligned with the vision, with our vision for New Clark City. So starting off, we have this PhilInvest Innovation Park and mixed-use development. This is a readily available 100-hectare property, and we are looking for investors who are willing to expand or set up their businesses in New Clark City, businesses that are in the field of logistics, light manufacturing, storage, and warehousing, and the likes. So the New Clark City will also be the home for the biggest and most luxurious destination resort in the country. We have this 450-hectare development called the Han Mountain Reserve, Han Mountain Resort. So this will be developed by a Korean company called the Widas Consortium, and this development there will be hospitality facilities from luxury spas and international brands like Angsana and Banyan Tree, together with Westin and Luxury Collection by Marriott. In this property, there will also be three 18-hole championship golf courses. And the first one will be the Nicklaus design. The second one will be designed by the South Korean professional golfer KJ Choi. And the last will be the Nick Faldo signature design. And another welcome addition to our development will be this sprawling, almost 45-hectare open and green recreational space. And this will rise at the heart of New Clark City. We partnered with the United Kingdom Finance and Commonwealth Development Office for its design. This will be one of the largest parks in the country. And this will provide a breathing space for our industrial or business districts and residential areas for their residents and workers to enjoy the benefits of this vast green expanse. Next slide, please. We are also partnering with the UK Prosperity Fund for the development of an affordable mixed income housing project. We are targeting our employees in NCC, those belonging in the low to middle income brackets, because we want to assist them so that they will be able to live within reach of our business and commercial districts. So for our priority industries, we are looking for a private sector project who will develop a telecommunication infrastructure. This will be shared by our internet providers because we aim to connect our citizens and our locators through wired and wireless services. We will be also offering a 37-hectare property for the development of a large-scale photovoltaic power plant. This will supplement the energy requirements of New Clark City, and this will also contribute to Luzon Grid's power supply. We are also looking for partners who are in the field of healthcare and medical research. This is to complement the efforts of our government as it establishes the, as I've said earlier, the Virology and Vaccine Institute of the Philippines. And we are also looking for a partner for the operation and maintenance of our sports facilities because we want to maximize the potential use of these world-class facilities. NCC, if I may say, it is a transport-oriented metropolis. In fact, our master development plan integrates and prioritizes public transport. It has integrated mobility solutions, active mobility and smart mobility solutions in its overall design. So we will be looking for a partner who will develop a multimodal transport hubs and transport-oriented development. We wish to decentralize our functions, functions that may be delegated by BCDA to private sector. So we are looking for an estate manager to effectively and efficiently manage and administer the communities within the New Clark City. This is also another area for investment, the solid waste management and waste to energy project. For now, we have an existing 100-hectare landfill site, which is ready to be converted into an integrated solid waste solutions and renewable energy power plant. This will suffice the energy requirements in NCC. We also wish to strengthen our ecotourism in NCC, so we are looking for a partner who might want to develop an eco-theme park in New Clark City. And lastly, to address the everyday needs of our locators, of the residents and our workers, as well as our visitors in NCC, we are looking for partners for the development of mixed-use, retail, and F&B establishments within the area. So I think that's it. I wish to end my presentation by saying that we in BCDA are very proud in doing or fulfilling our mandate because we are able to serve the community, serve the public, the people, and be the state's partner in promoting not just the economic but the social growth in the country as well. So we wish to see you in New Clark City, and we will be happy to tour you around, and so that you can see for yourself the investment opportunities awaiting for you there. Maraming salamat po at mabuhay tayong lahat.
Thank you very much, Gisela. Yes, a lot of opportunities there, and they're not a sponsor or anything, but I'm going to say that they're good people to work with. Thank you. Eager to serve and all that kind of a thing. And I don't know, if you don't go up there much, maybe just with your, for a day trip and have lunch or something, go up and see, just to drive around and what they're doing. Well, and at the same time, go to Subic as well. Tremendous things that'll make you proud. I mean, they're building world-class facilities up there, and they need partners in the private sector to work with to keep going more. So, yeah, so it's exciting. And a lot of more international funds and investors are looking to come here. We're getting calls. There's a Hong Kong group putting together a real estate fund just for Philippines. There's another one, it's a more regional a group that has both real estate and businesses and so on. We'll be having other events of just to highlight investors coming in new to the country. So our next speaker, David Lee, has come down from Singapore with PwC. And I'll please point out we have a special PwC guest. We have Roderick Denau, the chairman, I think is your title. Yes, I got it right. With PwC, we work with them on we do an event called the Asia CEO Awards, and the data collection and analysis is very, very complex. And they do that with us. Alan is another one with us. We're able enough, and we're really pleased to bring David from Singapore to give us a regional overview of what's going on in real estate throughout the region and how Philippines compares. So please welcome David Lee, partner for real estate advisory in PwC Singapore. Glad to have you, David.
Morning, everyone. Hello. Morning. All right, thank you. All right, thanks, Asia CEO, for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm David Lee from PwC Singapore. I am a partner with the real estate practice. So at PwC, we work with a whole host of clients within the real estate value chain to value add and help to solve important problems. I think today, theme that I will go through is to give the audience a broad overview about the overall emerging trends within Asia Pacific. So at PwC, every year we have a publication that looks at emerging trends, having interviewed a whole range of people within the industry. I think broadly today my session will cover a few key areas. I'll talk about some of the emerging trends. Also, the key topic that is relevant for the real estate industry will be one towards net zero, ESG, and global warming on the key agenda. I think towards net zero is something that the real estate industry need to also take its role in. I will touch a bit on about the investment prospects within the region by the different key cities. The last part, I'll briefly touch on the different asset classes. I think the earlier speakers had touched on office. I'll touch on the other asset classes that is a bit more relevant to the audience here. All right. Okay. There's a couple of key trends that we have noted based on interview with fund managers, with real estate developers that are set out here. I think one, as with COVID, what happened is a lot of investors have went towards seeking what we call more defensive property. You know, during the days whereby money is cheap, where interest rates are low, it was very common for people to just deploy capital so that they get a return. But with interest rates going up, you can no longer just, find an investment as well. I think with this, there are two main sectors that we see people focusing their investments on. One is what we call the bed spaces, multifamily or condominiums, which is probably not too common, I believe, in Philippines, but in countries like Australia, Japan, you would have institutional investors buying an entire block of condominium and selling it, not selling it, renting it out. I think one of the key drivers is, if you think about it, mortgage rates are high, interest rates are high. That has put a lot of people out of reach of buying their own property. And in the meantime, what could they do if they want to stay within the city? They probably might need to rent. So that has kind of like created opportunity. And also there's also changing lifestyles with the younger generation. May not want to own a property and be burdened by mortgage for 10, 20, 30 years. And that lifestyle has also created an opportunity within the build-to-let sector of the residential market. I think the other couple of them within what we call the bed spaces are the hotel, senior living, student housing. Those are gaining interest because generally those are of shorter term leases. You are at your rental rates to keep up with inflation compared to, let's say, some of the logistics investments. You might be tied for 5, 10 years, 20 years, and that kind of limits your potential upside compared to some of these segments here. And we have got logistics as well, although I did say that sometimes you do limited in terms of upside, but within Asia Pac, there is a structural shortfall or undersupply of modern warehouses. The warehouses that a lot of us imagine is just 4 pieces of wall come together. The warehouse that is fit for the new economy is no longer just 4 walls. You need, let's say, cold storage. When the COVID happened and a lot of countries had to import, the COVID vaccine, warehouses were not equipped with the right temperature to store some of this. So modern facilities, or even for e-commerce, how do you enable Amazon to be able to set up their picking and the delivery? So those are actually in structural undersupply within Asia as a strong for this sector. I think the next theme that we did see is mainstream assets becoming less popular. When I mean mainstream, I think we are looking at 2 main sectors. One is the office. I think notwithstanding the earlier speakers, I think there are still opportunities. What I'm saying here is probably losing a bit of popularity compared to a couple of years back for office as well as retail. I think the work from home and the remote working has created, I would say, uncertainty, which I'll touch on a bit later. Retail, I think, is not anything new. Obviously, e-commerce has disrupted the whole retail real estate. I think later on I'll touch on how does the real estate industry for retail continue to stay relevant in the times of e-commerce. And last on this point here is on the rising risk hitting development sorry. Hello, is it better for everyone? Thanks. Okay, I was just on the rising risk hitting development projects. I think when interest rates were low, everyone was buying something, prices was going up. The returns that you get from owning a property, 3 to 5% in a more established market like Singapore. And I think more investors and more institutional funds decided to take on a bit more what we call development risk. Buy a empty land, develop a property, and they will earn a bit more because you're taking on development risks. Obviously, the last 1 year with inflation, higher interest rate, I think the risk has, magnified, and obviously a lot of the margins that the developers were expecting when they bid for land pre-COVID had been eroded with inflation in terms of construction costs, higher financing costs. I think a study that was done, I think in a lot of countries within Asia Pac, construction costs have easily went up by 15 to 30%. If you imagine, typically the construction costs probably might comprise about 30-40% of your entire development. That hits into your margin by quite a bit. So that is something that we see that has hit a number of real estate investors or developers which had, I would say, committed pre-COVID or committed in a pre-hyperinflation era. Okay, I think next, apologies that the picture is not coming out quite clear, but I think the other thing that probably is quite apparent to everyone, cap rates will expand. In the days whereby the US Fed rates were at 50 bips, less than 1%, you could invest in real estate. You get 2 or 3%, you are able to earn an upside. The US interest rate is now at about 5% thereabout. And will you or investors or shareholders accept a return when you invest in real estate at about 3 to 4%? I guess the question is, it's going to be a challenge. I think the table here is actually by CBRE. What they have done is they did a survey of the valuers as well as the property investors, and if you can see, by and large, most of the Asia Pac cities or countries have seen an increase in cap rates, i.e. an increase in cap rate will have a reduction in your capital value. Obviously, Japan is a bit different. Japan has a interest rate environment that's different from, I guess, the region. But this is what we are seeing. Sorry, I think it's a bit small for Manila, but maybe I can just read out to you. So the one that I highlighted, Manila, if you can see, or for the office sector, the cap rate is about 5 to 6%. The retail is about 7 to 8, and for industrial logistics is about 8 to 10. And based on the study by Colliers, the interest rate is about 6.25%. So if you compare it to the office sector, I think it's going to be a challenge when you're borrowing at about 6%, getting a return of 5%. Although, the interpretation is your interest rate current environment is going to be short-term, that in time to come, the long-term stabilized interest rate could be probably about 3%, and looking at real estate as a long-term play. But I guess in the near term, we do expect to see cap rates increase, given that it has not quite caught up with rising interest rate. Okay, next I'll briefly touch on is towards net zero. I think it has been raining quite a bit this morning, and I think it has also been getting quite warm. I think a study by UN that July is probably the hottest month in the history that has been recorded. So I think everyone needs to do our part in terms of contributing towards sustainability. And the expectation of the real estate industry is no lower. It used to be good just to be having a green building, but being green is no longer good enough. The focus is towards how do you achieve net zero carbon. I think a lot of the properties that was built, in our development years within Asia Pac in the 80s and the 90s, they were not meant to be energy efficient. I think in the current climate whereby the expectation from shareholders, from tenants, from investors is your building needs to be green, your building needs to tick the box. There are large corporations that we have worked with that will not rent will not rent a building or property if they do not meet certain sustainability requirements. So I think the focus has been there, gaining a lot of tractions, as I mentioned. The carbon efficiency standards within the region generally have been low, I guess with the exception of, I would say, the more deeper markets, Australia and Singapore. So I think there is a lot of opportunities in terms of, later I'll touch on retrofitting out certain properties. I think there's also a lot more regulatory and reporting requirements now. I think in markets like Australia, Singapore, even China, there are now requirements to do disclosures and reporting on sustainability as well as the carbon reporting. So I think the key takeaway from this slide is it's no longer just have a lot of write-ups about what you will do. The key is you need to put everything in actions, and you need to be able to measure the results of action. Okay, the next slide that I have here is something of a survey that we have done with the investment committee in the real estate that was done late last year, looking at in terms of their expectation of the investment prospects, what would be their ranking. So based on the survey that was done, if you can see the top 5 or 6, we have got Singapore, Tokyo, Osaka, Seoul, and Melbourne. You can see those are in more developed markets whereby, as you can see, there's uncertainty. The flight to safety, going to a country which is having more liquidity and deeper is always going to be safer. The other interesting thing that we note is the Southeast Asian cities, including Manila, Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok, has all seen an increase in the rankings, i.e., I think the investors are seeing better prospects in these emerging markets. I think one of the reasons could be, with the China and US tension, as well as the, I would say, slower than expected recovery in China. A lot of investors are looking at developing markets within the region to see where the opportunities and growth could be. And I believe Southeast Asia, including Philippines, will benefit from this interest from the international community and investing in the real estate asset class within the Philippines. Okay, I will touch on briefly, I think just now the 2 esteemed speakers before me have touched on quite a bit about office, so I wouldn't go into details, but maybe there are 2 key points that I'll touch on. We talked about remote working, that office is still relevant. I guess 2 key things I'll touch on. One is on decentralization, picking up. It used to be you wanted all your employees to be within one office. But with remote working, with certain countries or cities where travel or commute between places can be challenging, there are more companies looking at satellite offices. You have one main HQ, and you have another smaller office that brings people together, but it's nearer to where I guess the employees are staying. So that gives the option. The other one that I will touch on is about repurposing the O. Again, it links back to my earlier point that a lot of offices are, may not be fit for purpose. We used to have one desk per person. We used to have just a monitor. But the workplace of the future, to bring about more collaboration, bring about more employee engagement, would be one that has a lot more spaces for people to interact. So there are opportunities to repurpose some of this, do a new build-up, fit out such that you will be able to attract tenants who are looking for spaces that is relevant for their business. Okay, I think retail is nothing new. Maybe one thing from this slide that I would want to touch on is, as with COVID, I think there are more and more people doing online shopping, which is nothing new. The question is, as landlords, when you have a tenant that is using the mall as a collection point, I'm not sure in Philippines, is it, let's say, Zalora or Lazada, whatever, and they are using it as a collection point, and how do you, make them pay? Because more and more tenants and landlords are moving towards turnover rent. It's no longer based on fixed rent. You get a percentage of our sales, but how do you calculate the sales from the online? So I guess that's where some of the challenges are as we move towards a retail industry that is fit for the new economy. Okay, I think earlier on, I touched on logistics. I was just sharing that there is still structural shortages in modern facilities. So from here, I think prices especially went up quite a bit over the last couple of years, particularly with COVID. I think with some of the clients that I see, particularly Australia, within a span of about 2 years, prices might went up about 10 to 15%, which is unheard of in the previous era. But I think that probably might have gone a bit too fast, too far, and we probably do see some stabilizing of capital values for logistics. But having said that, with the new economy, e-commerce, so on and so forth, I think we still do see a demand for logistics spaces, keeping out rentals and hopefully keeping out capital values. Okay, the second last asset class that I'll touch on is on residential. I think I shared earlier that there are now more multi-family build-to-rent development in Asia Pacific. I think mainly Japan has been a country that has this asset class for a long time. But I think Australia, China has seen more interest in this area. There is no longer build to sell, but build to rent. The developer probably gets a bit more recurring cash flow. And also I spoke about the behavior from, more moving from buying to renting because of, pressures from mortgages as well as lifestyle. But one thing to note, I guess, residential is always a very tricky area. You've got government trying to make sure that its people are adequately sheltered. At the same time, how do you then, balance out investors trying to make money from renting? I think that will be something that is going to be challenging, or one that the landlords and developers need to see based on the individual countries' regulations. Okay, the last asset class that I'll briefly touch on is on hospitality. I think the first 2 points, I think, is probably what everyone knows. I think this year, travel has rebounded. Although within Asia Pac, we are still lagging behind the travel rebound compared to the Western countries like the US and Europe. And I think one, I guess, I would call unfortunate thing is I think the recovery in China as well as outbound tourism in China hasn't been what a lot of us had expected, last year before China opened up. So hopefully that will, catch up, in time to come, and with countries like Singapore, Philippines, which rely a lot on tourism, the China recovery hopefully will support the recovery of the hospitality sector as well. But one thing that may or may not be so apparent, I think Marriott has been having very good service to all of us here, but a lot of hotels are facing shortages in labor. It used to be hotels could run at 80-90% occupancy. They had the housekeeping staff, they had the F&B people to support. But a lot of hotels now are doing it maybe 60-70, not because there's no demand, but because there was no labor, they don't have housekeeping staff to turn over the beds, to turn over the rooms. That potentially could impact the recovery of the hospitality sector. I mean, when COVID happened, a lot of the hospitality employees had to move elsewhere, and they moved elsewhere and have never come back or may never come back. So that is a challenge that the hospitality sector and, in part, the hospitality real estate sector will need to grapple with, and that includes really looking at their business model. How do they automate more, rely on IT, but that would also depend on, the positioning that the hotel want. If you are a Shangri-La, you are a Marriott, you probably will not want self-check-in. But if you are a 3-star, let's say Novotel or Mercure, you probably can do with that. Okay, I think with that, I think I've overrun a bit, but I hope this session has been insightful for everyone here, and thanks for the opportunity again to speak here. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Yes, very interesting. Let's, Philippines is you're gonna see, some of you are kind of looking and thinking, well, but the rest of the world isn't that interested in Philippines today. But they are, and it's changing. And we're gonna see a lot more integration and opportunities come from abroad in the Philippines. So we wanna make sure we are really operating at a world-class level to absorb these. And speaking of opportunities, our next two speakers are, we kind of organized it to be kind of a highlight, because I know you guys are going to have some interesting stories. But our next speaker, Gigi Alcantara, she is the head of the real estate division of Megawide. And Megawide is, I'm sure everybody knows the organization. I don't know, we've followed it for years, have just done a fantastic amount of work jumping into PPP projects like the Cebu airport and other developments that they have, and have really made a name for themselves doing world-class engineering and construction work. So it's nice that they have really gone big on the real estate development side as well, and join, you know, many of the other high-quality operators, Robinson's Land and so forth. So with an interesting story about this, let's hear from our next guest, Gigi Alcantara, president of, geez, my glasses, PH1 Developers. I hope I got that right. Please welcome. Hi, Gigi, come on up.
Richard, Rebecca, our respective speakers and sponsors for today's event, friends and colleagues in real estate, good morning. Thank you for having us. A country's real estate reflects the nation's level of economic progress, and to be first world, we also need to elevate our property offerings above world-class standards. PH1 World Developers and Megawide embrace this purpose. Rebecca's journey resonates with me because I have a similar journey. I'm proud of where I came from. A girl from the province of Albay who pursued college studies in Manila and sought opportunities in the big city. I worked my way up. I started as a sales agent, literally handing out flyers in the streets. And let me tell you, that was a humbling experience. Imagine, before, we didn't have showrooms, we didn't have exhibits. So handing out flyers during that time was equivalent to the digital marketing that we have today. We have all been handed flyers, and it's normal to decline. But there are others who just walk past us as if they didn't see us or hear anything. It wasn't that I was doing something wrong, but being one out of the many, I needed to find ways to stand out. That was my learning. So now I always ask myself, is there a way to do this ordinary thing extraordinarily well? This is the same philosophy we have in our company, PH1 World Developers. We are a disruptor in the Philippine property development and the real estate company of Megawide, the infrastructure developer and operator behind the award-winning Mactan Cebu International Airport and the country's first land port, PTEX, Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange. With Megawide's innovation in engineering and construction, and PH1 World's developers' disruptive mindset, we will challenge industry conventions and raise standards by transforming the ordinary into the extraordinary. If I may just share, even our logo has an extraordinary story. We were inspired by the journey of the humble salmon, Tama po, salmon. Every year in spring, female salmon swim against currents and waterfalls, brave predators and other dangers just to be able to lay their eggs upstream and ensure survival of their kind. It is in the very nature of the females to go against the tide when it really matters. This disruption of natural patterns is how they survive. And more importantly, how they thrive. All developers give you three things: space, convenience, value. At Page One World Developers, we go beyond conventions by giving you extra. We don't just give you space, we give you extra space. We don't just ensure convenience, we give you extra convenience. And we don't just give you value, we give you extra value. Let me start with extra space. To illustrate, this is our first high-rise development at My Enso Lofts in Timog, Quezon City. A typical condo unit would have 2.7 meters of ceiling height, but we increased ours to 3.5 meters to allow better air circulation, absorb more natural light in each unit. Moreover, we introduced the Ad-Loft technology or innovation with Megawide. This increased the total volume of livable space in each unit by up to 38%. Some people would ask us, but why even sacrifice having more units? The decision we made was easy because of our philosophy to give extra. Second is extra convenience. We choose to provide our projects with accessibility to public transport or major thoroughfares to promote mobility. Transport infrastructure is a key feature of our developments. Extra convenience is also key within our developments. We have a strong OFW customer base. And just the other day, I was talking to someone based in Europe who had several condo investments here in the Philippines. She said, the biggest causes of stress for an investor, especially someone living out of the country, are the fit-outs and the move-in. Many of our customers work 5 to 7 days in a week, sometimes with multiple jobs and businesses, and time is their most precious commodity. One condo fit-out was so complicated, and the delays were costing them not only financial, but mental stress. So what did they do? They bit the bullet, booked flight, they had to leave their jobs in order to fix the problem. For Page One World, customer convenience goes beyond closing the sale. It extends to your daily living experience by taking away the biggest headaches of customers and providing them in the units. We also include in all units and installed them all air conditioning units, cooktop range hood, multi-point heaters, keyless entry RFID, yes, even window blinds, among others. We also provide 2 amenity floors, including a co-working space, multiple levels of commercial and retail, parkings, and even generous parkings with 8 elevators. This brings me to my third point, extra value. What do we mean by this? All of this that I have mentioned are given at no extra cost because we can value engineer our units and structures in partnership with our company, our parent company, Megawide. That is our competitive advantage. So extra space, extra convenience, extra value. As a new player, this is what we bring to Philippine property development and more. PH1 World Developers' disruptive offerings combined with Megawide's first world engineering and precast innovation can provide a modern, efficient, and faster approach to help address the country's huge housing backlog as well. Recently, we have launched Northscapes, which is the first energy-efficient horizontal community in Bulacan. So this is our upstream journey. The fact that it is the female salmon braving these dangers is also remarkable. Female leaders in real estate and business may still be rare gems, like Rebecca and our other colleagues. But we are changing the game. We are paving the way for extraordinary. Right now, most countries are facing difficulties and forecast to post slower growth this year and next. Just like the salmon, we at PH1 World Developers challenge every Filipino to go against the tide of conventional solutions to push the Philippine economic growth ahead of other more advanced economies. It may be a brand promise, but it's also a personal promise, one that I made 20 years ago while handing out flyers and thinking of ways to stand out and make a difference. Friends, don't be afraid to swim against the tide. Let us make the ordinary extraordinary. Thank you and good morning.
Okay, thank you very much. Very good. And our next speaker, we meant it to kind of be a highlight, you know, the kind of build up to a crescendo at the end, and it was going to be Secretary Bautista as the finale. Our next speaker, Hannah Yulo, is kind of a highlight. We watched her for years develop her career, and now she is Chief Investment Officer of Double Dragon Properties, which, for financial people, this is among the top 5 companies now on the Philippine Stock Exchange. Really a big success story, how they've developed that and so forth. In addition to that role, Hannah also is in charge of their hotel and resort operation called Hotel 101 Group. Names I'm not doing good today, but I hope I got that right. A lot of growth opportunity there, especially in that mid-market that they are focusing on, that is really left out, in my view, and tremendously needed. So it's good to see that they are going big and really big on this. So with an interesting story and just a wonderful gal who Rebecca and I think highly of, please welcome Hannah Yulo of Hotel 101. Glad to have you, Hannah.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It was a bit over the top, but it's true.
Thank you. That was quite a welcome. Hi, good morning, everyone. I hope you're not sleepy yet and you had enough coffee this morning. I'm sorry I had to speak last, but I'll make it quick so that you can have a good lunch. But I'm here to just give you an update on Double Dragon Corporation, what we do, what we're up to these days. So just to give you sort of the background, so it's called Double Dragon because the major shareholders were both born the year of the dragon. So Double Dragon is actually 35% owned by Tony Tan Caktiong's group, which is also the same owner as the Jollibee group, and 35% owned by Injap Sia, the founder of Mang Inasal, and his family. So they both were 50-50. Then we listed 30% on the Philippine Stock Exchange in 2014. And so now they're diluted to 35% each. So, I mean, I won't go through a lot of the details because anyway, it's on the PSE Edge, our financial highlights. But the company is doing pretty well, and we have one of the lowest net debt to equity ratios of 0.68, one of the lowest in the Philippines among listed companies, as well as very high cash position, because during the pandemic, we actually made a big effort in strengthening our balance sheet to ensure that we survive any sort of long-term crisis globally. And we also recently upgraded at the highest PRS AAA credit rating for the company. Thank you. So these are the two dragons. So they're both born 24 years apart. So they met, as you know, when Jollibee Group bought Mang Inasal. So Mang Inasal had 338 branches when Tony Tan bought it from Injap. And today it has over 600 branches. And it is one of the fastest growing fast food brands still in the Philippines. So the 4 pillars of growth of Double Dragon are really very peculiar because we are late player in the property space, because you know a lot of the large property players in the Philippines were incorporated before my grandfather was probably born. And so they had the benefit of accumulating land bank very, very early on at very, very low prices. So we made sure that we focused on creating a portfolio that was really focused on building recurring revenue. So we didn't want to build townships because there are already builders of townships before I was born. And no matter how many townships we build, we will never be #1 in the township space or in the office space and all of these things. So we really focused our portfolio on the sunrise industries that we saw in the property space in the Philippines. So one, we have a Metro Manila office portfolio really specific to a specific area in the Bay Area. So if you've been to Mall of Asia recently or that area, you'll see a very big development called DD Meridian Park. And so we have 6 office buildings there that are listed under a separate company, DDMP REIT. And we also have 2 more office buildings there after that that's not in the REIT. We are also building Ascot DD Meridian Park, the 3rd Ascot property in the Philippines, which we own and develop. It will be managed by Capital Lands Ascot. So it's quite a big development in the Bay Area. And we bought it because it was opportunistic in nature, because we saw that the property was really very prime, and which is why even during the pandemic, we've maintained very good occupancy rates, because it really is a prime location in the Bay Area. And on the provincial retail leasing side, we focus on 2nd and 3rd tier cities. So we built a chain of city malls, which is now the largest community mall chain in the Philippines, with 45 operational malls, all in the heart of different provincial city centers across the Philippines. And we bought this portfolio starting 2014 to 2016, when prices in the provinces were still quite low. So we've seen a huge appreciation in land prices in our portfolio over the last 10 years since we started buying property. And industrial warehouse leasing, simply because none of the large players are really very focused in industrial warehouse leasing. And because in this particular subsidiary, we are partners directly with Jollibee Foods Corporation, we have an upper hand of having that anchor tenant, because Jollibee Foods Corporation manages 3,000 fast food branches across the Philippines. And of course, behind those branches are very large commissaries that require a lot of warehouse space. And so they're one of our anchor tenants for this subsidiary. And we intend to list this as a separate REIT in the Philippines, and the first industrial REIT in the Philippines. And of course, our hotel side. So on our hotel side, we have 3 major brands. So Hotel 101 being the largest. So I'm actually CEO of Hotel 101 Global, and I'll talk more about that later. We also have the master franchise in the Philippines of Jinjiang Inn, which is the largest hotel chain in China. And of course, our Ascot in DD Meridian Park. So just to give you a glimpse of what we've been able to achieve since we listed. So when we listed, we practically had 0 leasable space. So we listed purely on a vision and the credibility of the founders to execute on that vision. So the credibility that Injap Sia had built, building Mang Inasal, the credibility that Tony Tan had built, creating the Jollibee Group. And with that, we were all able to complete on that vision. So we said initially we would build 1 million square meter portfolio. Today we have close to 1.3 million square meter portfolio. When we listed on the Philippine Stock Exchange, our equity was 560 million pesos. Today, it is 82 billion pesos. So that happened just in the last less than 10 years. And this is our nationwide footprint across the Philippines and our actual portfolio today, and our target portfolio of increasing this to 3 million. So as I mentioned, we promised we would deliver 1 million. Today we have 1.3 million, and now we are promising to deliver 3 million. So we have been very hard at work, and we were able to achieve this even with a very small IPO by doing various fundraisers, as well as land banking, then developing, then leasing. So it's a slow cycle, because when you're focused on the leasing business, your first 1 peso comes 5 to 7 years later. And so it's been a very difficult climb, because people don't really easily understand what you're trying to do. You're trying to raise a lot of money, and they say, oh, you don't have enough revenues. Because I have to build first, and then I have to lease first before I get my first 1 peso. So that's the leasing business. So it's an incredibly difficult business, especially when you're going through a pandemic, when you're going through high interest rates, inflation, etc. So many things happening in this world. But it was actually, I think, we're very, very fortunate to be able to deliver what we committed to deliver despite all the challenges. And also for our stakeholders, from the lenders to our retail bondholders to our preferred shareholders, who have been very patient and understanding and believe in that vision and have been rewarded for supporting us through the years. And so today, at least, we have exited the startup stage, I think, successfully. And we have now a portfolio that is massive, that can be seen physically. People go there. Thousands of people go to our developments across the Philippines today. And so it's less of a difficult story to talk about than when we really started. But that was really very challenging years, but also very rewarding years for us, because it's not something that could easily be accomplished, but the team really worked hard to make it happen. So these are just some pictures of the office buildings that we've built. I'm sure some of you have been there. You can't see it so well, but that's the map of the Philippines. And all of those red boxes are open, operational city malls. You can see some of the facade photos on the side. So I'm sure not a lot of you really get to go throughout the province, but we've accumulated the largest number of community malls across the Philippines. And today, we're actually the 3rd largest mall developer in terms of number of malls in the Philippines that are operational. In the next 12 months, we should have about 53 operational malls. You can see some of those that are orange are already in late stages of construction and ready to open. Industrial warehouses, a segment that's not so sexy to a lot of other developers, but it's something that we really see as a sunrise industry, especially across the globe. Across the globe, major developers, major REIT companies consolidate huge portfolios of industrial warehouses. But for some reason in the Philippines, everybody was late in the game. And so that's why we saw a real opportunity in this space. And with our partnership directly with Jollibee Foods Corporation, we believe that we have the upper hand in being able to consolidate the largest industrial warehouse portfolio. So we buy industrial land and we build warehouses, just the 4 walls, and we lease it out to various types of tenants, from distribution companies, e-commerce companies, logistics companies, etc. So it's really multi-use and a lot of commissaries. So it's lower rental, obviously, rate per square meter, but also lower cost to build a warehouse, but very long and consistent cash flows, because you're leasing large warehouses. Warehouses could be 1 hectare, sometimes 2,500 square meters. And some of them could go up to 50-year leases with annual escalation clauses, which makes it a very attractive portfolio for REIT investors. And our hotel side. So again, hotels are something that many of the large developers may have missed out on really going for in the last sort of few decades. So everyone only started about 10 years ago on the hotel side, really focusing on the hotel side. And so our vision is really to be the #1 hotel company in the Philippines in terms of number of hotels. I believe today the largest has about 3,000 operational rooms. By the end of this year, we'll have 2,000 operational rooms, but we have a portfolio of 6,000 more hotel rooms that will come online in the next 3 to 4 years. So this is our hotel portfolio of Hotel 101. So this doesn't yet include the other brands because Hotel 101 is our real focus. This is our homegrown brand. So it was created from scratch by Double Dragon. So it's Hotel 101 because it's meant to be simple, like English 101 or Economics 101. So it's basic in the sense that it's an affordable hotel and it is very good value, but it's also very unique. And so I don't know if many of you have been to Hotel 101 Manila, which has been operational about 5 years now. It's beside Mall of Asia, but it has incredible occupancy, given a 518-room hotel. And even at the height of COVID, 2021, we did 96% occupancy. The one very unique thing about Hotel 101 is that we only have one type of room. So I travel a lot. And I've never checked into a hotel with only one type of room. You always have a choice of king-size bed or twin-size bed or extra bed or, city view or, whatever view. But in Hotel 101, it's the simplest app, by the way. You can download it in the App Store. You press one room, the date that you're going, and click reserve. There's no choices. And so it's an interesting concept because what it does, it builds unbeatable value. So if you close your eyes today and you think about the hotel space globally, what is it that is a standard hotel room? And most people can't really see a standard hotel room because there's no real standardization. Unlike if you say a burger, globally, you might see a Big Mac because, there's probably more Big Macs sold globally than any other burger in the world because that's a standard burger. But if you look at a hotel room and you close your eyes, even Holiday Inn Express or Ibis, even those hotel chains that are supposed to be super, super standard or fast foodized, don't have a standard hotel room. So the opportunity that we see in the space of the hospitality space, not only in the Philippines but globally, is really that of standardization. We aim to be the Big Mac of hotel rooms globally because we see it as a huge opportunity to deliver unbeatable value. And so this is our hotel room. It's our one SKU globally. We call it the Happy Room. So the Happy Room has completely modular furniture. So it's also very easy to maintain. So it's like IKEA. When it gets scratched, you just wrap it up and open a new flat pack. So it's very, very easy to maintain no matter where you are around the world. And then even our bathrooms, they are bathroom pods. So they're all really very standardized. We've released some press releases. We want to be one of the most technologically advanced hotel rooms as well. So we have our version 2 of our app where you do self-check-in, you can control your lighting, you can control your temperature, everything within an app. Because we only have one type of room, we believe that this platform is the platform that could really benefit in the technology across the hospitality space today. So this is our prototype Hotel 101 Manila. It has 518 rooms, exactly the same. And the reason we can really expand the hotel side is because we sell all of the units to individuals as a condominium. So if you see, the hotel room actually has a kitchenette. And because all of these are actually studio units with a kitchenette. So it's a 21 square meter studio unit. The only difference between this and a residential development is because all of the 500 studio units are exactly the same. So you get a condominium title as a unit owner, you get the usual payment terms that you would when you buy a residential condominium, because many people, admittedly, if you look at a lot of these residential developments, even a few years after they are completed, only half the lights are on. Because in reality is, half the people that bought those units don't actually intend to live there. People just love real estate. They think it's a solid investment no matter what happens to the markets. So they buy real estate because they like to hold on to their condominium title and they want to ride the appreciation of the real estate industry. So those are the same investors that we have in Hotel 101. The only difference is these are the wise investors because they don't need to do anything. So it's passive income for them. So when you lease your unit to someone, you have to deal with vacancies. You have to pay your association dues. And when that person has a leak or the refrigerator is broken and this and that, they'll call you in the middle of your day, in the middle of a meeting, and it's not something you really want to deal with, right? You just want to buy the real estate, make the money, and make the capital appreciation. So we've tried to solve all these problems by managing the units as a hotel. So the unit owners don't have to pay association dues. They don't have to manage their vacancies. They don't have to be an Airbnb hosts. So that's why it's Hotel 101, because it's like investing made simple. You buy a unit, it's a condominium title, you can mortgage it to the bank, inherit it to your kids, do everything you could with a residential unit. But it's managed as a hotel. And so you get your revenue share just like your rental revenues in your other investment, except that you don't need to deal with the vacancies or maintain or renovate. We take care of everything else. So the yield goes up and down, just like any real estate investment, but the only difference is we are actually beating a lot of the rental yields, which is why it's a better investment choice because people don't have to do anything. They just wait for their rental yields. So it's a simple business model that works for the developer because we sell it as a residential unit, so we make the margin. For the unit owner, because they make better yields than if they did it themselves. For the operator, because it's very efficient to run with only one type of room, so we make very good hotel margins as well. And for the customers that have proven 80–90% occupancy consistently over the last 5 years, have proven that having one type of room is not a barrier to the market. So yeah, so it's like a closed-loop uniform Airbnb. So we're a platform, just like Airbnb, except we take a step back and we create the inventory because Airbnb has zero predictability. And we take a step forward and manage it for you. But it's owned by all individual unit owners, just like Airbnb units. So these are just some of our developments. So Hotel 101 Fort just opened in July. This is 606 rooms, all owned by individual unit owners. We have Hotel 101 Davao, which is about to complete end of this year. We have Hotel 101 Cebu, 548 rooms beside the Mactan Airport. This is again sold out in a matter of months. Hotel 101 Libis, which we recently launched, is about 700 rooms. So our goal is really to multiply this room base in an asset-light manner. And we envision to have 500,000 rooms globally by 2040 and to be one of the top 5 most recognizable hotel brands in the world. So our international goals. So we want to have 3 hotels this year outside of the Philippines, and we are officially the first Filipino hotel chain that has gone internationally. So with our first project, Hotel 101 Niseko, I'm actually leaving for Japan tomorrow. We are breaking ground for Hotel 101 Niseko, and they will start construction, and then we will start the formal selling period. Because, it doesn't go against the grain for people, because everywhere you go in the world, you go to a Marriott, you go to a 5-star hotel, the people you meet there are Filipinos. Whether it's your housekeeper, whether it's your front desk, whether it's the bellboy, it's Filipinos manning hotels globally. But how come Filipinos don't have their own hotel chain? Why only Thailand has Dusit, US has Holiday Inn, Japan has all their brands, but Filipinos don't have one brand. So Hotel 101 aims to be really the global brand of the Filipino. So our second hotel is in Madrid, Hotel 101 Madrid, and we will be launching that by the second half of this year. And our third is in the US. We're in final stages already of negotiations, and we'll be announcing this fairly soon. So this is our first Hotel 101 abroad. This is Hotel 101 Niseko. That's the actual picture of the location. And we are very fortunate to have bought this property. It's 1.1 hectares at the heart of Niseko because it was during the pandemic and the developer decided to sell it. And some of the pictures. So even if we're a very affordable hotel, so it's like cheaper than a Holiday Inn. So imagine we're 20 to 25% cheaper than a Holiday Inn, no matter where we are. But because of our size, we only build 500-room hotels. We're able to deliver nice amenities as well. So you can see here we have indoor heated pool, sauna, etc. So it's not 5-star, but it's cheaper than Holiday Inn. So we want to give unbeatable value to our consumers. Oh, sorry. One back. And this is Hotel 101 Madrid, Spain. So this is in Valdebebas, and about a month after we purchased the lot, Formula One announced that they would be running their race circuit right in front of the hotel. So it was a very, very great surprise for us, and we're very, very excited to open this hotel and have Filipinos come and watch the Formula One. But the very interesting thing about this hotel, this is about 680 rooms. In Spain, if you invest 500,000 euros, no matter what real estate, you can get an investor visa. It's an immediate residency to Spain. So we have qualified for that. So if you buy 3 units, which equate to 500,000 euros, you will also get an investor visa in Spain. But because we are a previous Spanish colony, they take it a step forward. If you are a Filipino and you have a residence visa in Spain, not only will you be able to travel Europe freely as a resident of Spain, but if you live there or your children live there for 2 years, you will get a Spanish passport because we were a previous colony of Spain. So I'm sure in a lot of parties it's a hot conversation, this golden visa. And so we've qualified for that as well. And finally, our last slide is just the team. So it's the same team. It's an old picture of us, if you don't notice how we've aged. But it's the same team that has built Double Dragon from 0 to 1.3 million square meters today. And so that's the same team that's executing on the new vision of Double Dragon to be a truly global player. Thank you.
Wow, right? Thank you very much. Is that not wow or what? So you might say that, well, okay, maybe not, they'll build this global thing, but Jollibee, they're following a similar international. I was just talking to David Lee, our friend from Singapore, and he was saying Singapore is being inundated with Jollibee restaurant. I just got back from Toronto, and guess what is the fastest growing burger chain in Toronto? Jollibee's all over the city and the country, of course, too. So this is coming. We want to highlight more of these export-oriented Filipino businesses. So if you have something, let us know. We want to. Okay, we'll get going. We'll finish off. Appreciate everybody. I know it was an intense day. We didn't even stop for a break because it was just so much to get through. So I'm glad everybody's with us. But it was a good day with a lot of good material. Let me welcome to the stage Stephanie Ann Go, AVP of Business Development for Robinson's Land RLC Residences, to kind of finish us off today. And then we'll have some pictures and some trophies for everybody. Yes, thank you. But thanks, everyone. If you want to, normally we would have time for a question and answer, but we probably shouldn't today. But anybody you want to meet, send me a message. Be pleased to, I'll make an introduction for you, because there's a lot of people, you know, key people here. Chad, Arlene, Gigi, it's so many that you want to meet. I'm talking too much here. Please, Stephanie, here you go.
Good morning, everyone. I think I'm the last person to speak between you and your lunch, so I'll be very quick. It was really an interesting morning. We had a lot of very informative sessions. And again, thank you to all the speakers for sharing your insights. I think what we all realize now is that there was a lot of uncertainty during the pandemic. People were actually scared to invest. And with all what's happening in the world right now, the wars in Ukraine, it really is an uncertain time for everyone in terms of real estate. But you know, the good thing also is that there's a positive thing to look at with what's happening now with everyone opening up after the pandemic. Actually, BSP announced that they're actually maintaining the interest rates. So that's a good indicator. They were actually predicting that by 2024, 2025, inflation rates will go down. So again, that's really good for everyone here in this room. Experts are saying that demand is going up and supply is still not able to catch up. So again, really good numbers for everyone. But we all know that it's more than just the numbers. It's really beyond that. A lot of our speakers today spoke about the responsibility of everyone in this room to really deliver the best product so that we can bring back the confidence of the market in the real estate. And I think we all know that it's not about just, turning over a unit. It's not just about giving them the best flexible payment schemes. It's really about building a relationship, a long-lasting relationship with each and every future homeowner or investor in our properties. And forums like this really help us all learn from each other, cope up with what's happening in the market. So thank you really to Asia CEO for giving the opportunity to everyone to learn from each other. This was really a very insightful morning for me, specifically with all the exciting projects that Secretary Bautista mentioned earlier. It really is an exciting time to look forward to in the next few years for real estate. And I think in behalf of RLC Residences, I would like to thank the organizers for giving us the opportunity to really join this very important session with everyone and all the experts in the room. And again, thank you very much to everyone who joined us this morning and to all the speakers, again, for sharing all your expertise and learnings. And thank you, congratulations to the organizers, and have a wonderful morning.
Thank you very much, Stephanie, for those kind words. Very good. And maybe, or not maybe, if we can have to the stage, this is Philippines, we've got to have some pictures. So please, could I ask Chad Sotelo of RLC Residences, come on up. We've got a little trophy for you. These little trophies we have are always good for, very popular with Mom.
May we call our distinguished speakers on stage for the presentation of Asia's CEO Token of Appreciation, to be presented by Ms. Stephanie Ann Go, AVP and Head of Business Development and Design of RLC Residences, Ms. Karen Cesario, Senior Head of Marketing and Chief Integration Officer of RLC Residences, Mr. Chad Sotelo.
Like I said, moms and girlfriends love these things, I'm told. I don't know. And a lovely gift. This is from RLC Residences, which he doesn't need one, but our other speakers will.
Miss Jen De La Cruz.
Okay, thank you very much, Chad. Very good, very nice. Okay, pleasure. Okay, yeah, we'll stay. Is Jen?
Next is Mr. Miko Beranda.
Yeah, where's Miko? Come on up, Miko. This guy's got a lot of data. If you ever want to be inundated with real estate data, this is the guy to talk to. He just gave us a little bit of an overview today, but there's a lot more material he has. Come on over in the center here, you guys.
Next is Miss Arlene Reyes.
Thanks, Miko. Good to see you. Looking good. Looks like he works out, I think. Looking very fit.
After Miss Arlene Reyes, Miss Karen Magno.
Arlene, lovely to have you. This is, a lot of people think that you pay taxes to this organization. No, they pay taxes, they pay their profits to the government, so we pay less taxes because of them. We got some confusion. Who's next? I'm hoping it's Karen Magno, is it?
It is Miss Karen Magno. Next is Miss Gisela Calalo.
Karen was exciting, wasn't she? Very enthusiastic about her region there in Subic. And mark my word, if you think Clark, watch the next. Will be anyway. Okay. Thank you very much, Karen. And thank your group from coming down. Yes, we'll see you again, for sure. Okay. Next,
Miss
Attorney
Gisela
Gisela.
Calalo.
Yes. Looking lovely in pink. Only my wife wears pink like this and really makes it shine. So, yes, but again, BCDA, another one. You got to connect with these people.
Next is Mr. David Lee.
Okay, thank you very much, Gisela. David Lee, yes. So this was his first trip to Philippines. So I think we kind of got him indoctrinated that this is the future of Asia. Places where there's young, hardworking people who speak English. This is where the future really is. I hope I gave you some propaganda there.
Next is Miss Gigi Alcantara.
Gigi Alcantara, this is another one to watch. PH1 World Developers. Did I get that right? Yeah, I know. We have nothing but respect for Megawide, so any kind of things that they do, I'm sure it's going to be a success. So thank you.
Next is Miss Hannah Yulo.
Our Hannah left? Oh, okay. She was so great. Oh, that's okay. We're going to have one more picture. How are we doing? Okay,
Thank you to our distinguished speakers. Thank you to our presenters. May we request our sponsor and representatives to join our speakers on stage for the photo opportunity.
Come on, everyone. Let's have a photo op for it with everyone. Oh, good. Chad's eager and enthusiastic. You got everyone? Okay, we got to wait for Karen. We got Arlene. We got, okay.
May we request for our sponsors, representatives to join our speakers on stage for the photo opportunity.
Okay, thanks everyone again. Really a pleasure to have everyone with us. And encourage you. You know, something that me and my wife have a lot of fun with is just going to some of these developments and just having ourselves shown around. Like RLC, they have some fantastic condo projects that they're putting together. Just to see what they're doing, it's really, really interesting. So anyway, just encourage you to see what's happening. So thanks everyone. There's still some bit of fruit and food left. It was a busy morning, but we got a lot done and a lot that we learned. So as I said, anybody you want to connect with, send me a message or talk to our friend Mara Condi if you like, and it would be our pleasure, okay? There's a lot of good people for you to connect with. So thank you again. We'll see you next event.